Scheduled monthly meeting of the Village of Ortonville. It is now September 25th, and it is now 7:03 p.m. 7:04 by my watch. So let's rise for the pledge and the invocation. Dan, would you please?
I pledge allegiance to
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Bow your heads, please. Lord God, we ask your blessing upon those who have chosen our village in which to reside, or to locate their business, or to visit. We value their commitment, their interest and concern for our community. And Lord, as council moves through tonight's topics, we ask that you fill us with wisdom as we remember that we are not only a body of the people or by the people, but rather remind us that we represent all the people and not just those who feel the way we do. Help us to proceed with a bold yet unified spirit of cooperation and respect for one another's viewpoints. We humbly ask these in your almighty name and to your glory, asking that it would be so. Amen.
Amen.
We have an agenda before us.
Do roll call first?
Are there any?
Roll call.
Okay, I'm sorry, roll call.
Bryce? Here. Batsu?
Here.
Silas?
Present.
Eshman?
Here.
Skornica?
Here.
Sleva?
Here.
Wills?
Present. So we have an agenda before us. Do we have any additions or changes to the agenda? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Skornica, supported by Councilman Eshman, to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is accepted. We have council minutes from several meetings here from August 28. Council meeting. We have a joint meeting from August 30th with the Brandon Township Fire Authority and the Brandon Township. Then we have a meeting from September 11, special council meeting, and one again on September 18. Questions or comments on any or all? If there's nothing drastic, we'll do them all at one time. Otherwise, we'll tear them apart one meeting at a time.
Just have a comment on the minutes of August 30th with trustees absent, Dialis and Eshman. They were both with notice, so should they say with notice after each one rather than just after Eshman? It doesn't look like maybe Dialis. 'Cause typically, I think we've seen them after each one, just to be understood that it was each one with notice.
Sure.
Which one are you looking at?
The August 30th.
Mine says with notice.
It does. That
It
wasn't my.
looks like it's just for me and not Keith, both
Right.
Keith
I see,
together.
okay.
And that's also on the September 11th minutes as well. And then on the September 18th, should have the deadline for the reposting by 5 PM,
That's on the 11th?
the 18th. Monday, the 18th meeting.
Okay, let's do each one individually then. 3 out of the 4 of them.
Oh, and on August 28th,
Might as well do them all. Okay?
well, I don't know, nobody else sees them. August 28th, page 2, trustee Bryce, should, the second sentence, council, she, not should. Second sentence. I have one more.
Okay.
Page 4, Iron Bell Trail. Trustee Bryce indicated that she would like to receive input from Kristen Wilfang. I think from the community's perspective, just to put where she's from, in Oakland County.
No, she's not from Oakland
Isn't she
County.
from Oakland County?
Yeah, she is
she's
the
leading-
trail planner for
Yeah,
Oakland
she's-
County.
Is it from Oakland County?
Yeah.
I suggest that we insert that, just so that, who that is.
She's the trail
Trail planner for
Okay.
Oakland County.
That's it for me.
Okay, we'll do each meeting at a time then, because we have minor changes in each one.
I make a motion to approve the minutes as amended for August 20th, 2017, for the regular village council meeting.
Support. Motion by Councilman Skornicka and supported by Councilman Wills to accept the meeting minutes of the regular meeting from August 28 with changes as discussed. Any other comments? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes from the August 28th meeting are received and accepted as amended. Minutes from, I'll move that we accept the minutes, the joint meeting between Brandon Township Fire Authority and the Village Council, August 30th, 2017, as amended.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Wills, supported by Councilman Butsu. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the minutes as amended for August 30th, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are accepted and received. We have the minutes of September 11, 2017.
I make a motion to accept the minutes of September 11th as amended.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Bryce, supported by Councilman Eschman to receive and to approve the minutes for September 11, 2017 as amended with changes. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Finally, September 18. I'll move that we accept the minutes for September 18, 2017, with the addition of a deadline for the managerial resume receipt.
Support.
Moved by Councilman Wills, supported by Councilman Dylas, to accept the September 18, 2017 minutes as amended. Further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are received and accepted. Item 6 on our agenda is acceptance items. Treasurer's report. Item 7 is disbursements.
I have a question on number 1 in comparison to number 26. So we had a reimbursement for a cell phone, and then we have a charge for cell phones. Is that because he uses his own? For 1 and 26.
He broke his phone, and so we had to replace it.
He broke the village phone or his?
The village, yeah.
Okay.
And the replacement was $53.
Okay. And so 26 is just the service, and the other
Correct.
one is just, gotcha, okay. I have a question on number 16. With those water results, have we received those results? And if so, are those posted?
We have received them. They have not been posted. We had to retest.
Okay.
What was the reasoning for retesting, do you know?
We haven't done it in a few months, and then we had a complaint of sewer smell. And so we had our normal spots done, and we added, I believe, 1 spot or 2 that we did. We have 3 spots that come back astronomically high, and we're looking into that now, trying to find out where it come from. Very, 100 times high than what it's supposed to be, so somebody's leaking something, so we're on it.
Okay.
So number 8, John, the payment for the design services with respect to the repaving of Cedar and Schoolhouse, are those, it looks like we're going to pay those, and later on in our agenda, we're going to be discussing postponing that particular project.
Yes.
How are those payments going to be affected one way or the other to the engineer? Are they going to be affected at all? The engineering?
As far as us rejecting the bids and taking them again, no.
Okay.
I make a motion to pay our bills in the amount of $30,703.85 from August 16th through September 15th, 2017.
Support.
A motion by Councilman Skornica, supported by Councilman Eschman to pay our bills in the amount of $30,703.85. Are there any other questions, concerns, comments? Hearing none. Roll call vote, please. Liz?
Batsu,
Yes.
Dilus,
Yes.
Eschman,
Yes.
Skornica,
Yes.
Sleva,
Yes.
Wills,
Yes.
Rice,
Yes?
Motion is carried. Item 8 on our agenda is items from trustees, subcommittee updates, reports. Anyone want to?
Sure, I'll jump right in. A couple items from the planning commission, but we're gonna go over those later in the agenda.
That's all you got. I have nothing to report subcommittees, but I would like to take a moment to thank the DPW and the rec department and CERT and everybody else that I've forgotten for a wonderful weekend. I notice not only the setting up and the cleaning up, but all the parade candy and everything that the poor DPW has to clean up on Monday morning and not get to eat. So I think of them and I appreciate everything that they do.
I'm good.
I went to the Historical Society meeting, and I want to let people know that they're having what they call a Spirit Quest at the Old Mill Museum, and that's October 19th, and it's at 7 p.m. They've had some psychics in there who have heard whispers and disembodied voices. So if you want to know more about those things, October 19th is the time to go to the Old Mill.
Is there a charge?
No,
Fire Authority has not met since the 30th, so there's nothing to report there on the fire board.
About the painting?
Oh, I'm sorry. We approved painting of the, and some minor repairs to the building on the outside. So you'll be seeing that. I saw them actually working on it already. They've started. So I didn't get a timeline.
Okay, I have a couple things I want to pass out. I attended the conference, and I was able to secure the MML conference, and I was able to secure, because a lot of you guys don't know about what the MML does. So here's a packet for each one of you, a new member
Explain
packet.
For the audience what the MML
The
is.
the MML is the Michigan Metro League, and it's
Michigan Municipal.
Michigan Municipal, yes, Metro League. And they run many different seminars, and they help with recruiting, they help with procedures and processes. They run an elected officials academy, which a couple members did not know about, so I have a couple of these. See me after the meeting if you'd like one. You can get accreditation for elected officials academy certificates. They provide, I also have, I can have Liz make copies. One of the main topics was general law, and Ortonville is a general law village. So I can have copies of this passed out to you guys if you're interested. It's just what, a summary of what general law's provision are.
oh, I'd like one of those.
Okay, I can pass it along. And there's, in much detail, maybe just as meetings go on throughout the year, I'll present, because it's like, there's too much to go over tonight. But there was a presentation on expenditures and how finances should be expended. And I guess I can go over that next month and be put on the agenda to discuss that. But in short, if it's not serving a public purpose, we should not be spending the money on it. So I know there's a couple accounts in our budget today that qualify improper expenditure, that those need to be clarified or removed and put back to general fund. There's also, the fact sheet that gives about birthdays and plaques and bereavement flowers and things of that nature.
As to how that should be treated.
Yes, it's an improper expenditure. So I will get copies to you if you guys are interested, and the fact sheets, and I'll just be on the agenda for the next couple meetings, and I can go over each topic.
Yeah, well, I would like a copy of that summary.
Okay, and the general law, I'll see to it that Liz can make a copy of all the general law.
Yeah, I want a
And,
copy.
and then we can just go over some of the other things as time allows in our future meetings.
And all of those items can be found on our site.
Yes,
So
they,
look them out. We don't necessarily have to wait for a copy. You can look
they,
at it.
absolutely. So I guess you guys can go on to the website and look at those yourself, or Liz can make you a copy, whichever. I'll send Liz the link and you guys can just, but it was very informative. So,
Good.
and I'll just save my pile. We'll go through it as time allows in the next meetings. And also, just want to touch base that we, as of today, have received 2 resumes since reposting the position of village manager. I have not looked at those yet. I don't know if Tanya or Dan has, but we have received 2. And we're continuing to pursue the village manager
New ones
position.
for the, and the deadline for that is, again, what?
September 29th at 5 PM.
That's this Friday.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So that's it.
Okay. Thank you. The DDA met last week, and as the rep to the DDA, I'll just mention a couple of items. The DDA is entering into a Downtown Dollars program. It's a monetary gift certificate program that can be used as cash at participating businesses. These downtown dollars are redeemable for merchandise or services in our downtown boundaries. The DDA will fully reimburse any business that accepts downtown dollars as payment for goods. You simply turn in your downtown dollars with the completed downtown dollar reimbursement forms to the village DDA at the village offices. So it's a way of generating business and continued interest and additional interest in our downtown. There's going to be some Shop Ortonville initiatives coming up. We also are involved in a Merchant Association grant program. And we've been helping existing businesses and new businesses with facade grants where each business on a 50-50 basis or perhaps not on a 50-50 basis as their situation dictates, they can receive up to $1,500 a year to do facade upgrades on their businesses. You probably noticed the light pole banners in town. Has everyone noticed those? Have you seen them around? Yeah, those are finally up. They'll be put up for, on a seasonal basis, they'll be on display, I believe, through October 1st or October 30th. What's the date?
When the DPW can get it on their calendar in October, they'll come down.
Okay.
So it'll be up in April and down in October this year.
So the banners that we see will be up in April for the entire summer and then down the end of October. So I think that it's a definite asset for the downtown. Also on October 14, of course, we just had the September Fest, which, as Tanya indicated, was a huge success, even though the heat was pretty severe. And I want to thank again our Sheriff's Department and, of course, Lieutenant Glover and his crew, and the Fire Department for providing lots of fluids and hydration and so forth. So we had just 1 or 2 incidents that I understand where people succumbed to heat exhaustion. So it was a good time otherwise. Then October 14 from 4 to 9 p.m. coming up. There's an event sponsored by the DDA or coordinated by the DDA. It's called Witches Night Out. That's Witches Night Out. Okay. So it's a chance for ladies in the community to go out in costume and visit different businesses and have a good time. So then again, Small Business Saturday is November 25th, which is a national event where we focus on our local businesses as much as possible. And then finally, Christmas in the Village on December 2nd. So if you want to hold those particular dates in mind, then the DDA and the businesses in the downtown will appreciate that. Is there anything else, Matt, do you want to bring up?
Covered it well.
Item 9 on our agenda is public comments on agenda items. So if you have a comment or a question for the board, please address the board stating your name and your address. We'd like to give principal time to our local residents, and if you are a non-resident and we have time, then we will also invite you to come forward if you're so inclined. But we'd like to hear from our residents first, if possible. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brenda Timmerman, 68 South Street. I'm one of the 9 residents that received a letter that I had to rehome my chickens. Based on the letters I sent to you and the support I got from the community in signatures, I would like to ask you to reconsider your decision and to allow chickens downtown Ortonville. I'm here to address any questions that you have regarding to that.
Are we in receipt of the petition and the signatures already?
On your packet.
So if you have any questions about my letters or about owning chickens, I'm here to, if I'm allowed to, address those questions.
Certainly now would be a time, or later on in the agenda under old business, so either place if any council has questions.
Okay, if you don't have any questions, then what I would like to do is invite you to come over to my home so I can share my passion of chickens with you, and maybe that'll help you change your mind. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Brenda.
I'm Carrie Pollard. This is Peyton Pollard, my 3.5-year-old daughter. We live at 185 Ball Street, and we also received a letter about our chickens. I stood here at July's meeting and told you if you guys decided to choose to go and say we cannot have chickens, I was bringing my daughter for you to tell her, because they're her chickens, that she can't have them. We do not have roosters. We keep them cooped. We have signed the petition because we think we should be allowed to have chickens. Just, I'm okay with not having roosters. I stood here and said that before. We can agree on that. No roosters. Keep them penned. Be respectful to your neighbors. I also brought some pictures for you. These are my daughter. I'm going to hand them down. Of her with her chickens. Sorry, I'm nervous. This means a lot to us. This means a lot to her. Like I said, these are not my chickens. These are hers. She came with me because she wants to fight to keep her chickens. They are her livelihood. She loves going out. She collects those eggs every day. She feeds and waters them every day and holds every single one of them. The little one's a little easier to hold, so I have pictures of the little one. That's Little Miss Chicken. So that's all I have to say. Please re-advise it. It's 32 years old. It was decided in 1982. Do we really need to keep a ordinance around that hasn't been really enforced since for who knows how long, and that old? Please consider no roosters and keep them cooped. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello. Cherie Weibly. I live at 171 Ball Street. I also received a letter. There's other people who have chickens in the village, did not get the letter. Just the people that have been coming up to the meeting here. I also have chickens. I can get rid of them if I have to. But I have a grandson. He's 9 years old. He's been taking care of these chickens for 6 years now. We've had chickens at our house. I went up and down the street. I had the petition signed. Everybody on our road that signed the petition, they're pretty upset that this is even being pushed, that we can't have chickens. Nobody has any complaints for chickens on our road on Ball Street. There's quite a few of us. A lot of people don't even know we have the chickens. We keep them clean. We keep them penned. We have no roosters. You had 2 women here that kept complaining at every single meeting. You've had more people say chickens when we want chickens. You have 2 complaining. Take care of the business. That's an offense to the 2 women. You know, roosters running around unpenned. We have no issues on our road, no complaints on our road from anybody. So that's kind of what I had people sign the petition, and the people were very upset that you're pushing this thing to get rid of our chickens.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Tim Rugenstein from 561 Granger Road. Excuse me. We also received a letter about our chickens. And I'd like to ask the council, the petition's been received. Do we know how many signatures yet?
Total village residents, it says here, is 108.
Okay. Oh, total village? Village only.
Total village residents, 108. There was 75 that were non-village residents.
Okay.
Total of 183.
Okay, thank you. Just to echo what the other fellow citizens have said, our chickens also, I have 2 boys that were not able to be here tonight, Cub Scouts, that are their pets as well. And, you know, our neighbor, we have 2 neighbors that love them. They're kind of disgusted about what's going on. I believe at least one of them signed the petition. But I'd like to just, again, lend support to what the other folks are saying. I'd like you to really seriously reconsider for something that's old and really, as I said, really doesn't look like it's even been enforced until now. I mean, we do live in the country, and you know, so I don't know, just like to ask the council to really seriously take this under consideration, change this up, and really consider, you know, those that have a problem that come out here from Troy and Sterling Heights and want to bring Troy and Sterling Heights with them out to our community. I mean, we want to, as you said in an opening prayer, we want to live with everybody and everybody's views and everybody's viewpoints and live, you know, with some give and take. But again, let's take a look around at where we live. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Alicia Simpson. I am on Cedar Street, and we also received a letter. I think I kind of might have stirred the pot a little bit with the petition and asking some questions. I'm just wanting to reiterate what everybody else that has received a letter has said, and I want to just bring up a couple points about chickens in our community and some of the concerns as far as hygienics and noise and what kinds of ordinances would need to be changed. I took some time to look through all of Ortonville's ordinances. It's like 238 pages. It's like a lot of them. It's kind of interesting stuff. And I saw in the last meeting there was a discussion of the ordinances that would need to be changed if we were to allow chickens. And I would just like to point out that from my understanding, changing an ordinance is not really hard stuff. I don't mean that to insult you, but it's really just we say we're going to change it, and so it becomes changed. There isn't much research. We don't have to pay anybody to do it. So that's one thing that I, right off the bat, was a little bit like, okay, well, you know, it doesn't require much to actually do, and so other than everybody agreeing, or a majority anyway. As far as chickens being a nuisance animal, I was surprised, I will admit, that my neighbors signed the petition. When we first got chickens, we had a hard time keeping them cooped. Our kids were very curious, and every time they would go out to feed them, they wanted to let them out. My neighbor has beautiful bird feeders, and my chickens would always end up at her house eating her chicken or her bird seed. So when I talked to them about signing the petition, and their willingness to do that really spoke a lot to me, because my chickens irritated them when we first got them, and they quite a few times came over and were like, the next time we catch your chicken in our yard, it's going to be dinner. Which it's fair's fair, right? So the fact that they did that really spoke a lot to me, and it showed me too that we do in this community, everybody that lives in this community is willing to work with each other. We're all willing to sacrifice and, talk to each other to figure out a best solution for all of us. I don't want to, I'm not asking to have 50 chickens and start a commercial egg-laying business in my backyard. I'm just asking to keep the 5 that we have. We had 7 when we came to the last meeting, but we lost 2 of them to predators, which is unfortunate. I think it was a skunk from what we could tell. But anyway, so I don't think anybody here either is really asking to keep, you know, a large, stinky chicken coop. I think we're just asking for, you know, our opinions and our animal choice to be considered. One thing that was brought up that I found was interesting is that in the last meeting there was a discussion or a comment that chickens are not pets. And actually, according to the ASPCA, the number of people keeping chickens is actually beginning to outweigh the number of people keeping dogs. So if this petition, or if this isn't revisited now, in the future, it's actually, you know, there's going to come a point where if it isn't the majority now, it's going to be the majority eventually. And in my opinion, I say, why not just place a good boundary on chicken owners and, you know, rules and keeping them cooped and, you know, put a cap on it. You don't want 50 in the village for one person. That, I mean, at least we can understand that, because that's a lot of work. Another thing, too, is that, you know, this whole thing, like I said, people in the village and our community, we're all willing to work with each other. And I think that having a conversation on this, like Brenda had, you know, said, if there's any questions or concerns, I think that's fair. I think if the people that are, you know, those of you that don't agree with being able to keep chickens, if you have, you know, what are your concerns? I would like to know, what are your, you know, why do you vote no, I guess is my question for you. Like, what is your reasoning for not wanting them?
Okay, thank you. We have to move on. So that will come up in our discussion in a few minutes. So thank you very much. Anyone else?
Courtney McLaren, 880 Mill. I came with the intention of being not very nice tonight, but I decided to forego that and just say, let them have chickens. I don't have chickens. I don't particularly like chickens. I love that all my neighbors have chickens and I can get eggs whenever I want. I don't understand the problem. I'd like to remind you that your personal opinion is not public opinion, and progress is positive when you use it to preserve your community's rural character and integrity. We live in rural America. We don't live in Detroit. We don't live in Flint. I'd also like to know why you have a planning commission if you're not going to take what they have to say into consideration. I'd like to echo the sentiments about how hard it is to change an ordinance. I know firsthand it's not hard. It's very simple. You have a building director on staff who's already done a chicken ordinance for the township who can do it for you. Lastly, I've sat where you sit. I know what it takes to listen to your community and to put your personal opinion aside and do what's best for the public, and I just ask that you all do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Courtney. Anyone else? Thank you. Appreciate your input, your questions. Item 10 on our agenda is Village Manager's Report. John?
Thank you. I'd like to apologize to council. In my absence last week, Liz and I had a very well thought out plan as far as putting this agenda packet together and the items on it. Upon me leaving, everything started to bombard us, and we tried to, the setup that we did for our Wi-Fi, which was going to do miraculous things. I got into a place that their Wi-Fi wasn't worth 2 cents a month, so I couldn't do what we wanted. So anything that's wrong with this, you know, I'll take the wrath for it. But I think we can work our way through this and get everything done. The first thing, we have the booklet, the packet that Liz has put together, but in the agenda itself, under Village Manager's Report, there's an item that cost estimates for adding an additional street light on Ball Street should be forthcoming from DTE within 2 weeks. I wanted everyone to know that we still haven't received that, and we expect it anytime. We did receive another proposal from DTE that we'll speak about later.
The quote that you're getting is for an LED light?
Yes. On Ball Street, there's a close to a 700-foot, 600-foot gap in the streetlights for whatever reason. And the residents of that area wanted us to take a look at it. We did, and yes, indeed, there is the light that needs to go there, and DTE's given us a proposal for that. On the agenda itself, it says scrap tire bids update, and I'm gonna go over that here in just a second. So, to the book. First, I wanted to mention that the SAW grant, which was much anticipated through our sewer program and our.
Could you explain what that SAW grant is, please?
The grant it's a federal grant for specific projects. I can't remember what the acronym is for that exactly. But what it was going to be was a $1 million grant for the design of the wastewater treatment plant and system. We did receive that grant, and we immediately refused it. So we did get it, which is good news, and the other news is we didn't need it. So we have withdrawn some of that. I did attempt to try to change the scope, because we could use that to maybe get some design on some storm projects or anything else. They wouldn't accept anything other than a wastewater treatment plant. So we had to decline. Today, last week, we received insurance quotes for the insurances of the village liability. We received two, one from Nickel and Saff Incorporated for $9,554, and our current agent, or our current broker, Michigan Township Participation Plan, quoted $7,966, which is $141 less than last year. We've received good service from them over the last 6 or 7 years. I would suggest that next year, the new village manager go through the very long process of looking at these, because it's very tedious to compare. They'll throw in stuff, you'll save 147, and you gotta watch what they do with that, and yeah, it's a three-month project to do this. So if you wanna do that, I suggest that for this year. Now I've provided a suggested motion. We do not want our insurance to lapse. I apologize for the timing of this, that we need to do this, but this is a good solid bid. It's with a company that served us well. Their response is good, and I recommend that we move forward with the Michigan Township Participation Plan for insurance.
We haven't had any claims on that, have we?
Not this last year, I don't believe. I believe we have a truck. Didn't the truck just get hit? Yeah, we do have one right now.
But that shouldn't be a claim against our insurance, from what I understand.
That's correct. That was a property damage claim. It should be against the party who hit the parked truck. Who hit our parked truck.
So I'm requesting a motion for that. So inclined.
So we didn't have time to bid it out though, correct?
We did get this.
Oh, that's one other bid.
These over here.
$9,554 versus $7,966.
I make a motion to enter into an agreement with the Michigan Township Participating Plan for insurance coverage from October 2017 to October 2018 in the amount of $7,966 and even.
Support. Motion by Councilman Bryce, supported by Councilman Wills to renew our insurance with the carrier of record for, at the price of $7,966, which is $141 lower than it was last year. Any other questions, comments?
Pretty clear cut.
Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Silas,
Yes.
Eshman,
Yes.
Skornica,
Yes.
Sleva,
Yes.
Wills,
Yes.
Rice,
Yes.
Butsu,
Yes.
Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
Next, we have the Cedar Street Schoolhouse Street paving project, better known as the scrap tire grant. We received bids on the Friday the 22nd. Actually received a bid, one bid was taken from the LA Construction Corporation in the amount of $336,900. The estimated, the engineering estimate, this exceeded that estimate by over $130,000. This, I believe, and the engineer believes, is due to the timing of the year, and most of the companies are just done with putting on projects, and so that's what it was worth to him to do it. And so I'm asking that you reject the bid, and that we schedule it with Rowe to go out for rebid in January, where we can get the better spring prices. The same project, as far as the same tonnages of blacktop and everything like that, pretty much the same community, the village of Carroll, maybe a city now, I'm not quite sure, but Carroll, come in at less than what the engineering estimate was just 2 months ago. So it's gonna be wise of us to just hold off and wait till spring and rebid it and get it done then.
That's taking into consideration our unseasonably warm temperatures right now. I mean, when would they be able to get to it? Not for a while then?
Their bid, yeah,
Okay.
that's what they bid, and I would highly recommend not paying that much money for it.
Oh, agree.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we reject the bid received by LA Construction Corporation in the amount of $336,900 for the scrap tire grant project.
Support.
So we have a motion by Councilman Eshman, supported by Councilman Skornica, to reject the bid in the amount of $336,900 from LA Construction Corporation for the Cedar Street and Schoolhouse Street paving project, due to the fact that it was considerably higher than we anticipated. And we would rebid that same project using the same engineering fees that we've already just paid.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns for John? All those in favor of the motion as read and supported, please say aye.
Aye.
Against? None? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Anything else, John? Is that it?
I'm just staying for old business stuff. For next. I'm on a roll.
Item 11, under old business, animal control letters.
After the last meeting, that Tuesday, I went out, we had a list of some locations of where some of the chickens were. We also had a short list of blight items that we needed to deal with, and we got those in line, and we did, as the people have attested, we sent the letters out. So the response for the chickens, I gave them, I believe it was 45 days. because I wanted to give them the opportunity to address council, because I was told right away that this petition was coming. So that's the time period they were given. Plus, we did some research on it. Some of these residents have a substantial investment in what they've done, and I wanted to give them the opportunity to get rid of their assets if they needed to do that. So that was the purpose of that. We also sent out some blight letters, and I've been gone, and I haven't checked, the blight have come to an end, and I need to go out and check them to see if the blight's been taken care of. And I'll do that tomorrow. We did receive the petitions as time went on. And as was said earlier, the village registered voters were 95. The village residents that were non-voters were 13, a total of 108 village residents, 75 others outside of our boundaries, for a grand total of 183 which signed the petition.
Is that enough signatures to make this a ballot issue?
No, no, it's not a ballot issue.
No, I mean, if we wanted to make it a ballot issue,
We would not want to make it a ballot issue.
you wouldn't want to? Okay.
I also
But
want
it's
to
not
have
enough,
two
though.
letters.
It's not enough, though, even if we wanted to go that route.
I think it's
It's
about
95.
13 short of the petition for the sewers to go to referendum.
But it's 95 because you can't count the non-voter in the,
Well, how many
Okay, if we
signatures would they
decided
need?
that they would come up with 13 more to make it
Well,
a
it's
ballot.
not right now.
You're right.
Okay.
Yep.
Liz, what was it, 1,300 registered voters?
Something like that.
Something like right around 1,300.
Yep.
Say
Registered
1260.
voters. So we also attached two letters that were received in support of that. And I haven't received anything against the chickens at all. So that's where we stand. And in my on the agenda, in my notes, I gave the council two suggested motions again, and I think that was kind of wrong of me, that I shouldn't have done that. Council has already voted in order on this issue. So I wouldn't need instruction for anything other than what, if you decide to make a change or change my direction, that you just need to, I would appreciate it because of the issue that's at hand and what's going on, if you would support to instruct the village manager to continue enforcement. And there is a suggested motion if you want to go the other way. Again, council has voted for me to, I would like for you to vote whether I should continue or whether I should stand down. If we stand down and we go to an ordinance, it was kind of ironic at the last vote. We had a draft from the attorney already. My anticipation of the vote going the other way, and I apologize for that, but we have the draft from the attorney, which limits the amount of chickens, which sets a setback limitation on the chickens. It affirms the instead of using the noise ordinance, it would be in the ordinance that no roosters, and that. So, and no free ranging, which is the big, I think that's the big thing, is people don't want them running all over the place. So, once again, I hate to put council in this situation, but the petition has come in, and we have to make a decision.
John, do you have the actual wording of the ordinance from the change from our attorney?
No, I did not bring it. The setback we would set, we would do that through the planning commission, would do the setback. It appears that most cities and people that have this have 10 foot, nothing in the front face of the house, nothing up here, 10 foot on the sides and rear.
Isn't it similar to a standard outbuilding So far from, it's
Right,
similar,
yeah,
no,
and
so
that's
far
in
from the
that-
fence, so
It
far
can be covered
from,
that way, but we
right.
want to be specific with this, so.
But
we
I'm
don't get it
saying,
all.
that's usually what they're going with, is the same
Usually 10
standards
feet.
as an
Yep,
outbuilding,
right.
correct?
There's numbers anywhere between 3 and 12 chickens as far as the number. You know, we can go with that, and that's where we're at. It's really like, I don't know if any of you ever thought it was really rocket science to change the ordinance or to put something together for that. It's really not, but we have to follow the process. It needs the first reading, it needs a second reading, you know, for approval, it needs to be posted in the newspaper, so it is a process, so.
I'm just going back to your last statement, though. There was one resident on James Street that wrote a letter, because I received one
Yeah,
on the email,
I believe they both were in there.
not in favor of chickens. This was about a month ago. I've got a copy of it, but I can give it to you.
Not since the last meeting, though. Has it
It was the
been
meeting
since?
The last
before.
meeting?
Yeah, I think it came up, I brought it up,
But it
so,
was prior to the last meeting.
Yeah, prior.
prior to the last meeting, I'm
the-
sorry.
Yeah, these are since that meeting.
Okay, all right.
The complaints came from Candace Court, and I believe we did receive one complaint from James Street. But then, again, and I hope council don't take exception to this, but I was here for 6 years. And I got 2 chicken complaints in 6 years, and they were both roosters.
And
they were
how
both-
was it,
they
and they were
both
dealt with how?
Promptly.
Okay, and the roosters were,
Wow.
One I was in Mexico, I remember vividly. It was on the news, actually, if some people might remember, we made the news, we're famous. It was the roosters, and that was one that was off of Granger. So,
my only concern with this whole issue is the enforcement of any ordinance that might be applicable. And who would enforce it? And what would happen if the people thumbed their nose at us, like it's happened on Candace Court?
well, the village manager would be charged with the enforcement. Although I'm, one of the things on the top of my list is not chasing chickens around. I did spend 30 minutes watching chickens, and they don't go home when you scare them or push them or whatever. They go across the street to the other guy's house, and so I stopped that. So you just have to catch them in their yard, and sometimes you can see a pen. When I went around, I went through the whole village, and those are the only ones I found, and I know that there's more than that out there. So it's not an easy thing. You go based by complaints. People are people, and they'll turn each other in. Something will happen, somebody will step on somebody's grass or something like that, and they'll call in on those chickens.
So what do you envision to be the penalty that you would recommend,
Well, that would be
given a
by our civil-
allowance for
civil
X number of
infraction
chickens?
ordinance.
That's already
Same as
described,
every other
yeah,
one.
that's already defined.
I don't care, I want to hear it. What's the penalty?
I believe through the process, it would be $150.
$150,
Yes,
first offense.
first offense.
But that's
And-
after.
And how would that be applied, and how would that be enforced? Payment of that $150?
We established that ordinance about 4 years ago, the civil infraction ordinance. We've never had to use it past the second letter. So we've never applied it to the point where we had to actually try to get a fine from them. And basically, the civil infraction notice is, what happens is they get a letter, then they get another letter, and that's telling them to come in and pay it. If they don't agree with it, and they have to sign a thing that says they agree, and that's a stumbling point, people don't like to agree with stuff like that, then, at that point, then it goes to the courts. And then it's $150 per,
And if they refuse to pay it?
then it's the judge's issue.
And then if they refuse that?
I think that's $500 in 90 days,
And then when does it go on to their tax roll?
probably right after the court.
So it eventually it comes home to be an additional tax on which you would pay along with your regular tax.
They all are, yeah.
You probably go on the tax lien after there's a monetary judgment entered.
Right.
Once there's a monetary judgment entered, it's going to go on the,
Again, people, I've just never had an issue with people past the second letter. The first letter is really kind of mundane, and, you know, you're guilty of this is what's happening, fix it in 10 days or however many days, you know, and that. The second one is a little more. This is what the fine is, this is what you didn't do that you were supposed to. Show up at the village office by such and such a time and such a date. And if they don't, then you take action with the court. The whole idea of the civil infraction enforcement is to keep it out of the courts.
And when we addressed the blight last summer, every person fixed it with the first letter, and to my knowledge, most of them are still where they should be. So it's not, people do not purposefully continue to cause issues. It's brought to your attention,
Right now,
you
we
fix
have
it.
probably 3 troublesome addresses that I know about. You know, and it just depends on how you want to enforce. You want to go there on Monday morning and people had a birthday party and they got their kids' toys all over. I normally don't do anything about that. If their grass is knee high and you can't see their kids' toys, then yeah. It's a call that who's ever doing it has to make. And we're not in the business of harassing anyone. So there is some leniency involved. But once it gets to that second letter, then you pretty much have to follow the law, then it's out of your hands.
Who would be responsible, John, for, in a different way, like counting chickens? Like, say there was an ordinance allowing 4 chickens, depending on the lot size and setbacks, and I think some communities even require a cement pad poured for drainage and things.
It would be difficult because unless you're standing there, you go inside their pen, which I don't think that I would want to do.
Their neighbors will be
And-
responsible for
I can
that.
think several-
Well, if neighbors haven't, according to what I've heard tonight, the neighbors just love it. But there are some that don't love the chickens.
But we don't
And-
count our neighbors' dogs either. If there's a problem, it's brought to the attention. If
Right.
it's not a problem, then
It's complaint oriented and based, you know, people, you can do things for years and then all of a sudden it comes up, it's a problem.
You know, to me, it's all about enforcement, or lack thereof. And I don't care what the situation is. When you have an animal of any kind roaming, dogs off the leash, cats roaming, and cats can be hunters, and cats can be very aggressive. And so, you know, basically it boils down to enforcement of the roaming part of the ordinance, and then, of course, obviously, the noise part of it. The nuisance of the noise of a rooster is very obvious. So that would be hard to hide in a rooster typically. But if it can be enforced and have some teeth in it, where the people don't thumb their nose at us,
I think that the
And I
village
think there's-
manager has to take that on and know that, and the complaints. You have to use those, so.
Well, you'd also,
It's not easy, you know, no one's ever seen me out on somebody's grass measuring with a ruler how long the grass was. We just don't do that. It's typically by sight, and then blight is, we even got a call that our blight ordinance is not, it's hard to understand. Blight is very simple to understand, it's a simple sentence. It's anything that reduces your property value or the property value of your neighbor or the village. Bam, that's it, anything. It can be anything that someone else thinks is wrong. So it's pretty, you know, inclusive with everything. And we don't do that. I'll be the first to admit, I don't go out there and try to chase people down and be mean to them and, you know, like that. We work with people.
John, I don't know if you know the answer to this, but of the coops that are out there now, how many are within that 10-foot setback?
I
From the property
only
line.
seen one that was right on the line. And I don't know if that fence was his property line or if that was his back fence for his whole yard and he had property on the other side, not sure.
So we don't know how many that are out there are within that 10-foot.
Well, you said only one. That seems to be.
Right.
Yeah.
That I
Well,
see.
it's the only one he looked at.
Well, out of the
No,
letter
he said out of
I
the ones
wrote,
that he looked at,
I drove
only
the whole
one.
village, but some people, I didn't even see their chickens, but I knew they had them.
I've had some concerns about the way the issue has been handled, because and this is why I asked, did they have enough petition, signatures on the petition to make it a ballot issue? Because I'm not going to say who, but I've been approached by a number of people that have told me that they do not want chickens in the village, and they definitely don't want to live next door to chickens. So the way this is being handled, we're not really taking into consideration other people's point of view and what they want to live next door to or across the street from. And this is why I brought up a ballot, that this should be, I think it should be a ballot issue, but you're saying you don't want to handle it that way, or it can't be handled that way, because we're not really, we're looking at a small percentage of the population of the village. They have chickens and they want to keep their chickens, and I can understand that. But there could be a larger portion of the population of the village. They don't want chickens, they're not interested in having them, and they don't want them around them. They don't want them next door or across the street. So,
Okay.
but I have been approached by
Now, Chair-
many people.
This is a discussion between the council and not the public at this point. So you have to talk to the council members, and we would like to know who the people are that are telling you they don't like chickens.
They don't say they don't like chickens.
Well, come on now.
That's not the issue, okay? The issue is they've said that they really don't want chickens in the village.
So is it one person, two persons? Who is it?
Probably, I would say 4 or 5 people have talked to me about it.
And actually me as well.
So
That's no reason, to me, that's no
But
reason to
it's-
it's
spend.
not like disliking chickens, it's that they don't want chickens, and they don't want them next door or across the street.
This
Not
is-
everybody wants to live by chickens.
What about the, John, who's going to check the chickens for sanitation problems, or
I don't
are they?
know a lot about chickens, but I know if they're not taken care of, they get pretty smelly fast.
Right.
As does, dog poop in your
Okay.
yard, or rabbit poop in your yard.
But, and then there's also, I mean, just getting back to other pets or even dogs. I have a neighbor that the dog goes where the dog wants to go, and maybe once in a blue moon, they'll find it and pick it up. But in the meantime, everybody has a different thing. And so when it comes to a pet or a chicken, I mean, they're kind of, some are controlled, some are not. And it would maybe be unfortunate for somebody that doesn't really like chickens or want chickens to live next to that person that doesn't give two hoots about the sanitary portions of it. Because there are some out there.
So isn't that between the neighbors to discuss?
It shouldn't be between the
I don't
neighbors?
want dog poop in my yard. I have it everywhere. I don't have a dog. That's
Right.
between me and my neighbor. I would never want dogs not in my village. That's my choice.
Well, some neighbors you can talk to and they get it.
But isn't
Some-
that then when we would come and complain about it?
Yeah, and there are some people that are, not, I'm going to say maybe timid or not as aggressive, and just say, I'll just deal with it. It's easier for me to pick it up or whatever, because the person that they're talking with doesn't get it. But there are people out there like that, and I know that for a fact. So there's more to it than just having some chickens, is what I'm trying to
If
get
the
at.
concern is that we're only hearing from the people today that appreciate and like chickens and raise chickens, and we're not reaching out, or the people that are against it, we're not hearing from them, I think there's a way you could do a vote by residents, not taking it to an official vote, and whoever responds cares enough about either having them or don't have them. And the response would come to the village office in whatever form we want to do it, but at least you know where the village residents stand with, and quite frankly, if you don't come and vote, then you really don't care whether you have them or you don't have them in the yard. So why not solicit the residents who live in the village? And if the majority of them say they want chickens, then.
That's the way I look at it,
Well,
you
at
know?
this point, the majority have. We've received 2 negative letters,
Majority of.
and we've received 108 people saying they want
95.
them, 2 negative letters saying they don't. That is the contact we've received from our community.
That's not the majority.
No.
Come on.
No,
Majority of
108
our
to
residents.
2 is the people that have spoke to us about what they do or do not want. That is people speaking. And I'm not saying they are the only people. What I'm saying is 110 people have told us what they want, 2 are not, 108 are
So
for.
you're standing by this petition as being representative of our residents, correct?
Representative of the
what the
residents who
residents
want their
want or
voice
don't
heard? Absolutely.
All right.
We don't know unless we
I'm fine with
ask.
that. If
We
that's-
asked, people are telling us.
We want to vote today based on this. I'm ready to vote.
No, I'm just saying though, we did ask and people are telling us, is all I'm saying. You can't discredit that people are telling us what they want.
All I'm saying is, to be fair, and we want to be equitable to the residents of our village, then put it out there. We can do that. We
See,
can do that. Absolutely.
This matter has no need to go to a public vote where the village, all the residents are going to spend upwards of $5,000 or more for an official vote.
No, I'm not talking about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, he's
That's
not talking about that.
How can you say that there's an accurate vote going to take place
Like a
otherwise?
survey monkey, like the township did for the trails.
trail.
Just throw out a survey monkey. Those that are interested will respond.
Then how do you validate that?
How do you validate it?
How do you validate
You
that?
have
I'm not
to-
sitting there 5 times doing
You
it
have to
myself.
give your name and then you
Oh, you do?
match
Okay.
that,
Yeah.
You have to give your name and you
So
have to.
it's just
to
like
have it be a vote.
anything. You have somebody that's for it, you're going to go out and solicit the people that are for chickens. If you have somebody that's against it, you're going to go solicit the people that are against it.
That's right.
And so you can, so my point is, it's not an official ballot. It's, you make it known that, okay, the village of Ortonville want to hear from our residents. The people that care about chickens will come and vote. The people that don't care about chickens will come and vote no. And the people that could care less won't vote at all. And then, you know what? Their vote is for the majority of the people that came in and cared about it. That's all I'm saying. This is not representative. It's just it's representative of the people that go out and solicit the people for chickens.
Yeah, I would like to get, more public feedback before I vote for something than we've got on this issue.
How much more would you like, and when would you like to have it?
I was gonna say, we've had a month and you have people getting letters that have so many days to get rid of their chickens and that's not fair to them. I mean, we should have handled this within this past month and. gathered
We
up all
should have
the-
handled it back in April. It's been on the
And then
table
our-
since April.
We did
It's
handle
definitely
it.
gone on way too long.
And this is not, as I said earlier, this is not just about chickens. This is about all animals. And it's about the fact that they're going to be on a leash or off the leash or roaming or free ranging. We don't want them to be roaming or free ranging of any kind of animal. I don't want to see your iguana running down the street. My dad shot an iguana that was 5 feet long
Speaking of iguana,
because he thought it was something from outer space. This is no lie. He lives in Brandon Township where you can shoot a .22. Well,
We reference that ordinance. I mean, you have a dogs at large ordinance. When we get a complaint, we enforce it. We just enforced one this weekend where a dog ran to a chicken coop. It was a dog at large. We wrote the dog at large ticket. So we do write those tickets, but you have to be aware of somebody has to be a complainant to write that ticket.
and it ran into a chicken coop, you say?
It ran to a chicken coop. It wasn't being aggressive. The dog just ran down a few doors and happened to show up at the chicken coop.
It was actually my daughter.
Yeah,
I
I
was
mean-
being very aggressive,
So-
actually, to the point where I thought I might have to put it down.
Yeah, so I mean, we actually wrote the dog at large ticket because the dog was not collared and the woman had no
And I've
control
called,
of the dog.
I've called animal control on that same dog since I've lived in the village, at least 10 times. And this is the first, I called the police this time and she was getting a ticket. Animal control has done nothing. And her dog is not the only one. I have 2 neighbors whose dogs are constantly getting out, constantly not on a leash. I mean, it's,
Yeah,
I
so
feel
you're-
nervous letting my children play in their backyard because of the dogs that my neighbors own.
You're gonna find people that don't want dogs. They don't like their dogs. I don't own a dog, but I like dogs. But I had neighbors when I lived on Big Fish Lake. We had Dobermans next to us, and I swear those dogs are gonna come right through the screen every time I walk by the house, which was like 6 feet away. And man, we moved because of it. And it's all animals. I don't care what it is, and that's the way this council, I believe, should handle it. Not just a chicken.
Which is what I said from the beginning, keep your hippo in your own yard and we're all fine. Everybody
Whether
keeps it in, we're good.
If your rabbits become aggressive and get rabies and
I have a dog that we do keep under control. We have a run for him. He doesn't run loose. And we have a hard time walking him because of other people's dogs who they do let run loose.
Right.
He doesn't do well with other dogs, but I would never want to say people can't have dogs, but I agree with you 100%. Is they just need to, we need to enforce that they need to be under control or kept in their yards, not run loose.
And I think the problem with chickens is because it hasn't been enforced. So people are like, we'll do whatever we want because nobody's doing anything about it. But if you say to the people, here's your rules, follow them, they will follow them. I will follow them. We will all follow them. When you say, here's this ordinance that admittedly has not been enforced.
well, and again, it's because of changes in the
Right
whatever
to
it
farm.
was,
That's what I was
the
gonna
right
say.
to farm
Up
rule.
until 2 years ago, they were umbrellaed, and nobody has, that I know of, new chickens in the past 2 years. Everybody has chickens when it was allowed, when it was covered and umbrellaed. Now the problem lies.
Yeah. So again, as you recollect, John, the attorney basically came up with an ordinance that states, from memory, what can you tell us? An offset of a certain number of feet, a certain number?
Basically, a certain number, an offset, no commercial use, no selling them, no slaughtering them. Come up with a setback, no roosters. That was pretty much it. It was a pretty simple 2-page deal.
Keep them contained.
Contained,
Okay.
yes.
Contained by, by fencing them in?
Imagine, yeah,
On your property.
however you need to keep them in.
So it doesn't matter what it looks like, just be a
Well,
cage of any
your
sort.
blight thing would still come in.
Berkeley just passed a very good ordinance for chickens that might be worth looking at.
Well,
There's a ton of them.
There's a ton of them out there.
There's a lot.
So we're not, are we voting on the actual ordinance tonight?
Nope.
We already voted.
We already
Just telling
voted
me
and
what
said
to
to
do,
enforce
'cause I
it,
have
so
people that I-
Well,
there should be no
yeah,
change.
there hasn't been a motion yet.
And I normally don't like to do that, but in this case, I need to have that.
If I could offer,
I think
could
it's
also
informational.
ask the planning commission to help with looking and researching chicken ordinance, because that's one of the things we can do for the council is help look into these things.
But as was said earlier, we've already sent out letters stating that the people who are in violation of the existing ordinance, which is no chickens, have to get rid of their chickens within, what's the deadline?
October 24th.
There you go. So,
The voice, that was the voice of the council representing the people, by the way.
so
Okay.
if we turn it over to the planning commission for further review and, how many more months is that gonna be?
I think we already have taken some look at it. Already we've seen some information about it because of the topic that come up. I think that it's something that could probably be handled, if there's already a draft of the attorney, you'd probably look it over and get a recommendation after our next meeting, which is just, which is next week.
October 3rd.
Yeah, October 3rd is when we next meet. We could potentially have it on the agenda then and review it.
He's a member of the
Right
public,
back to you guys.
planning commission.
Pretty good. What do you think? Yeah, Rick's also on the planning commission too.
We've looked over it a lot so far. It wouldn't take much to just pick the best ideas, apparently.
And again, if we decided to change direction on it, it'd be simply as sending out 9 more letters saying that we're holding off on it, right? I mean, we sent out 9 letters for, to have the chickens removed, so it'd be just sending out 9 more letters saying that we're holding off on it, if that was the direction we chose.
Suspending it until
Thank
the
you.
decision's made.
And then would it be possible to go through like the Survey Monkey and just, get a reading of the entire village. And a lot of people probably won't respond. But I would like a reading of, of the village as much as we can possibly get. As well as knowing exactly what we need to do to have the chickens and have them be quite manageable.
Step up to the podium, please. Yeah. Again, state your name and...
My name is Rick McAvinci, and I live at 300 Woodbridge Lane, and I'm Planning Commission for the village, Commissioner. Anyway, when you're talking about these petitions and not getting a complete reading of all the people in the village on the subject, I've been working the elections here since 2000, and we never get, on any election, we never get more than, say, wildly, it would be a wild thing if we got 40% of the people in the township that voted on any issue at all. So it wouldn't be any different than any election as far as representation of the entire village or township. So that's what we go with every time we have an election. We go with a small percentage of the people that are actually registered voters. I don't know how that would be any different. If you want to make a decision, you make a decision on the people that are interested enough to come and vote. And the same thing goes for this, in my opinion. Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Direction? Thoughts?
To Rick's point, I guess if Tanya's recollection is correct, the last election, they had about 27% of the registered voters vote, and that was actually like a pretty important thing. And based on the 95 registered voters that signed this petition, that's 7.5%. So, you're almost a third of total people who showed up at the polls last time for an important election, which to me, that's a large percentage, comparatively speaking.
To me, this petition doesn't take into account all the people that said no. Where are the no votes on the people that were knocked on the door? No.
It wasn't solicited, it was at a location for people to physically go to. Yeah. So it was never that, no, they didn't have an option. I wanted to go door to door, but my son broke his pelvis, so I was not able to do that. But it was literally just at a place, and if you wanted to sign it, you could go.
Right.
We
We went door to door on our street, and that one person said they didn't want, not one person.
Well, one street. Sorry.
I did not go door to door, and on Saturday, 80 people showed up. I had to keep on printing out new sheets. They came by themselves. There was no way I could have gone to them. 80 people in one day.
And look at how boisterous the people in the village are. The wind.
So the rest of the people just said,
realistically, if people had had a chance to say, I was surprised, honestly, that there was
We have
no
to stop
message
this.
from this letter. I was fully expecting letter after letter stating, our neighbor has chickens, we hate it, it's loud, it's noisy. I didn't see any of that. I was surprised. I was very surprised. Come on, the letter section alone is like, that's where you let your opinions all out, right? I guess, from my understanding.
Okay, going back, drawing to a conclusion here. Going back from last month's meeting, we had a motion that was passed by council to enforce the current ordinance 90.35 to 90.62 as written. And that particular motion stands unless someone on council wants to put forth a different motion to expand or change that.
John, how can I do that to have Planning Commission look at it, not to prepare the ordinance, but to visit what we already have prepared?
We have a draft of what he believes, and he's done it in other communities. We have that draft.
So what would that be?
Goes to the Planning Commission. and we would tweak it, put the setbacks in it, make a decision or else a best guess of how many chickens we should allow.
Well, that's pretty much that
So would the
motion.
correct,
That's-
well, it wouldn't be prepare an ordinance, would it not be to give to planning commission, or would that be?
That's,
I mean, we
That's what
already
would
prepared
start
it.
with.
but-
Right.
yeah, they
But
would,
that's
he would
the
go back to
correct-
planning
okay.
commission.
I didn't, I want to make sure that,
It would include
this seems
roaming
a
of all
step back to
animals,
where we're
not
at.
just chickens.
It's called Survey Monkey.
Hanging
I
of
mean,
all
that's much better than,
Okay.
A goat monkey.
it's much better than putting it on a ballot. It's a lot cheaper, but
Well, I make a motion to continue to instruct the village manager to prepare the ordinance revisions for village ordinance 90.35 to 90.62 in order to allow the keeping of chickens within the village with restrictions as approved by council.
Support.
You don't want to strike the word chickens.
Where?
Well,
Oh,
fowl or call them something other than, I mean, we need more encompassing
well, I was just.
language. but I'm,
Right. Well, I think we should keep with the current ordinance language.
The ordinance would be animals, this particular event here, I need direction on the chicken.
But what if you want a partridge or a parakeet or a peacock? Wouldn't it be, like you're saying, fowl versus turkeys,
specify.
ducks?
They can
We're
go
not
get a
even talking
petition. Let's just
real-
stay
You don't
with
want a
this.
peacock in your area. Not if you-
No,
Prepare
well,
the
there's,
ordinance
right now,
means
there is
We're gonna
one.
study it, we're gonna
must.
look at it, we're gonna decide what the words are.
Okay,
Pot-bellied pig, there's people that have pot-bellied pigs
so keep
now.
it chickens for now
You know,
and
and
go from there.
peacocks and,
pigs is listed in that ordinance.
yeah,
Right.
there's,
Well,
and
potbellies.
that would be the hard part of the ordinance in actuality. It's really a simple thing, except for that kind of stuff. It, people, ducks, you know, there's,
That's
and
in the
there's
ordinance.
wordings that, I believe he separated them, by, fowl, birds, I don't recall, but.
more of a catch-all
Right.
for, okay. Okay. So we have a motion by, which one? Who of you?
Tanya?
By Councilman Bryce, supported by Councilman Dialis, to instruct the village manager to prepare ordinance revisions for village ordinance 90.35 to 90.62 in order to allow the keeping of chickens, within the village with restrictions as approved by council. Okay. So,
Any further
As
discussion?
future
So
approved, as approved,
When approved by council?
yeah, because as approved, we haven't approved any ordinance yet.
with restrictions.
And are we gonna get in the
when?
habit of
When it's
redoing
approved,
motions
yeah,
when we
it's
first
approved,
voted?
It
Yeah,
says
just
that.
some-
You can always change, you can
Prepare the
always
ordinance
revote,
that
you can
will
always
approve.
change.
I know, but then we're gonna bring them, like, when we have other motions, bring them back?
Absolutely, you can do that, you can reverse yourself. So, any other discussions?
I just stand, I think we need to go through the Survey Monkey and at least give people the chance and publicize it in a way that they will know that they have a chance to voice their opinion on whether they would like chickens or not.
Okay, so
That's,
after we vote on this motion, you could make another motion to go to that,
okay,
if you wished, okay?
okay.
If you wish.
Also, our planning commission meetings they're in the Open Meetings Act.
And then we can go to, you know, get,
Also, and if that, give us feedback, yeah.
Mhm. yeah, get some public feedback and then go with you, Planning Commission. That's
But
where
that's
I'm
not
at
part of
with
this
it.
motion, so let's
Yeah,
just
that's-
keep them separate.
That would be
Okay.
next if you wish.
You have to be directed to change letters, if that was the
Okay,
case.
I'm gonna call for a vote then.
I'm just gonna prepare the ordinance, and then they'll,
No, I mean-
we'll prepare it with the attorney,
No,
And
if we,
If,
Vote for it first.
yeah, well, after this, but if
you're gonna-
Karen's,
If we're gonna do this, then we'll send the letters
we
out
have-
and tell them that council's deciding.
so the letter would be
Roll call,
concurrent with
please.
the decision. Okay.
Eschman,
No.
Skornica,
No.
Sleva,
No.
Wills,
Yes.
Rice,
Yes?
Butsu,
No.
Dilus,
yes.
So the motion really went down in defeat. So that means that the existing ordinance, which allows no chickens, continues. Now, at this point in time, if you want to
Yeah.
bring up your, make a motion to have a survey, Go Monkey, whoever you call themselves, or whatever they are,
Well, I think what somebody said was Survey Monkey.
Survey Monkey, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, a number of people have mentioned that. So I'd like to make a motion to instruct the village manager to publicize that we're seeking
A posting for a
feedback from
public
the
survey.
public regarding the
residents.
keeping of chickens.
Village residents.
Village
not
residents.
public.
Registered voters.
Okay, well, somebody needs to help me with
Village
this motion a
residents.
little bit. But anyways, so how would we word this?
Instruct a village manager.
Okay, instruct the village manager.
Would they have to put that in the paper?
The
or
word
How does
resident
that
to
work?
perform a-
David will-
a,
Have to go in.
Manager.
To me, it would be one resident per household, so it's the voice of the household, so it's not, if you have 10 people at a household, 10 people aren't voting, it's the one household that's voting.
Yeah,
So it would be, if you're going to do a survey, then it would be the taxpayers on roll by resident, one vote per resident.
I have to think about how we're gonna verify that. We're liable
You have to
get
put your
taxed.
address in
Raffle
Survey
lottery.
Monkey. When you do Survey Monkey, you have to put your name and your address. Then you verify that name with their vote.
How do we know it's not?
Have to do this, you know.
Well, you're right, I could lie for all of my neighbors, but you have to put your name and your address in there.
Everybody's honest.
Yeah, it's,
well, I mean,
there's going to be
It has to be
ambiguity with
traceable.
that.
Somehow you have to trace it. Yep.
That's why the vote process is not, it's not valid.
There's a way.
It's not
There
valid.
is- There's a way.
Like, is there a legal way
Okay, well,
that
we're
is
not-
valid, that would be legally binding, saying this person, this official was present, whatever, but to go to the people and say, like, I will walk door to door and I will objectively,
Okay, we're
here's
not-
the issue.
There can be in public
Are we going
comments.
to keep or are we not? I mean, Survey Monkey does have its flaws, I mean, it's a good idea, but it is something where, you know, people can say, I live in this area and I don't.
It could be held on one day, it could be in the village office. Mr. McAvinci knows how you verify residents. It's with the license, okay, and you check that box off for that resident. It's either yes or no, see you later. It's one day only. You post it, and they come in and vote.
Or is it,
This,
You're restricting a lot of people.
would it be cost prohibitive to just send out a letter to each household?
It worked for the village with the trails to simply say, what is your name, what is your address, here's your information.
Not the village.
at the
I mean, the
village.
township, with the trails. It worked just fine. Talk to them, see how it went. Everybody got a week to put in their
No,
information.
Supposed to be public
It
comments.
did not.
We made a
That's like
motion.
saying this,
See,
that's like saying this is
No, the
representative.
information gathered that was the way to do it, that it worked out. I'm not saying whether people were for or against, that's when they gave their information. You don't have to talk to somebody, you can be honest. This is my information, yes or no, and this is why.
Wait, I gotta disagree with Bill Tiny, because I sit in all those township meetings, and I've been at all those sub meetings for the trails, and one of the biggest arguments came out about that survey is how do you limit a household to one vote if you have multiple registered voters in that household? And that was a big complaint over those surveys, that those surveys weren't accurate either way.
Too much.
I didn't say per household, that's
Well, somebody
what
said
Dan
one vote
said.
per household. Yes,
Right.
that's a legit argument. You have multiple voters that vote on issues within this township or within the village in this case.
And it shouldn't have to be registered voters. If you own a piece of property in the village, you have a say.
Well, and I think when I asked last week or last month what we had to do, I was told we had to get a petition. I mean, I understand that you guys made your choice, and I'm not disrespecting that at all. I don't know what it takes to serve on the council. Maybe after I've lived here for 20 more years, I will. You know, I admire that you guys, you know, I have an attitude that they do whatever they want. They don't take into account the voice of us. But, you know, I saw, you don't come to the meeting, so you have to do what you feel is best, and I understand that. But I am giving you, and Brenda has given you, the voice of the people who are speaking. And we can continue to find more people who will continue to speak, but the consensus is pretty clear that there are more people here that support allowing the freedom to. I have neighbors that don't have chickens yet that want to get chickens that now won't be able to. I mean, we live in an area where, you know, somebody made a comment, don't bring Troy and Sterling Heights here. Well, guess what? Troy and Sterling Heights both allow chickens now. I mean, it's pretty much Detroit. It's urban farming is a huge thing. This is not like we're going against the grain or that we're not.
Okay, we're going to have to curtail this discussion for now because it's not going to be, there's not a definitive answer at this point. We do have a motion that's been voted on, and council has voted on, and the majority has spoken. Therefore, we had an attempt to make a motion down here, but I don't know that it's been completed, nor is it been
I'm
seconded.
still writing.
You're still going to do it?
So we have to move on, and we have other things to do on our agenda tonight.
Okay.
And I'm not saying it's dead by any means, because I think that there are some good reasons for what what is being
can't write it that
requested,
fast.
so.
We will look for a viable way to do the survey, see if there's something out there.
But right now, there hasn't been a motion to do a survey, though, so I don't think we need to do that.
Can we make a motion to give us some more time before we have to, I mean,
And that's very important because out of the 7 letters, 2 of those homes have
We've already
contacted a
voted on
realtor
it.
and are looking at putting their house up for sale. We need to let them know.
There's no motion for a survey.
To do the survey. That's
So we
what-
wouldn't
that's what
proceed with
she
it.
attempted to do.
I'll just do
If
it.
we had something out there that says go ahead and move with finding a way to
That's one that's no.
to vote on it, then that allows him to move
But you need to
forward.
also give them more time then.
You have to.
I don't understand.
Only if we motion.
More time for
to get
what?
the survey done.
Even
We've
if we're
already made-
considering,
we've already
you
done it.
They have
can't
to
let
get
the
rid of their
letter stand
chickens.
if you're considering
Okay,
something.
now you want more time to give a to.
No,
have
I
a survey?
think we're not, I don't think she's gonna do
Just,
that.
no, because I've been writing over here and this and that, but you're kind of like on my case, and I'm not really sure, what direction we're going at this point. You kind of want to move on, so, I decided we were moving on then. So,
Well, you can make a motion anytime you want. So if you want, later in the meeting, if you want to take some time and revise or come up with a motion that you find suitable.
We can come back to this then?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Item 12, under new business, cable franchise fees and budget. I move to approve the acceptance of the 2018 allocation of the cable franchise fees from Brandon Township in the amount of $9,649.98 to be deposited into account 101.000.498.020.
Support.
A motion by Councilman Wills, supported by Councilman Butsu. As stated, any other questions, comments?
I would just like to make one comment. In regards to this, I've always thought that these dollars should go back to the residents that live in the village as opposed to Brandon Township and the village offices collecting this money from the actual service provider. I think the service provider ought to lower their rates and we ought to forego all this franchise fees so that every resident in Brandon Township and/or the village can reap the benefits of a lower charter internet service. That's my comment.
John, do we know when this annual review of this item comes up? This is an allocation, this is not a review of the program. What I think Councilman Eschman is...
Annual, they take the profits of the revenues of the year.
This is
and
a
they divide it.
disbursement.
The village gets 10.58 and
Right.
the township gets 89.42%.
But this is not, this is the allocation of the disbursement and the splitting up of the funds,
Yeah.
per the agreement.
Yeah.
Councilman Eschman is asking about the validity of the actual agreement.
That's cable franchise.
Okay, so he's he's disputing and debating the validity of that agreement.
It was a comment, all
Well,
right?
it's
And
a
comment.
I've raised it before, every time we put this up to vote. I just believe that these dollars should be dispersed and our rates should be lower.
And I don't
And that would be
disagree.
charter.
That's what, I don't disagree. That's why I want to know about when
Right,
that.
where's our,
Then you would contact Charter. Charter is the one who does the contract for that.
This is my cable franchise that takes years and years to negotiate and things, and we probably still have, I don't know how long we have on this current franchise, but that's a pretty, that document's like 400 pages thick. So yeah.
And just for the public's edification, how is this money being used?
Ours goes into the general fund. The township's, same thing.
Okay. Doesn't go back to OTV then to buy new equipment or anything?
Well, the budget will be next month for OTV, and we'll either approve or not, the cable station budget.
Okay.
The
So-
revenues are after OTV is taken care of, and they have a fund balance that they maintain in order to keep the equipment going and everything like that.
So we don't know when the contract was signed and for how long the contract is good for.
Cable franchises are typically 30 years, and I do not know off the top of my head.
Look, well, that would,
Well, what happened was
Sounds
the federal
familiar.
government,
Maybe it's 40.
the federal government deregulated it. Everything used to be fine, and the federal government deregulated, and because we were gonna get lower rates and everything was gonna be fine, the same as the phone system, when they decided to break up the Bell system, our phone bills were supposed to plummet, and, insurance, they did the same thing with insurance, and now that didn't happen with car rates either, and don't get me going on unleaded gas. You messed us up on that too. I apologize.
and I agree, we have brought this up before, and also, I've brought up too, it's like, if this percentage is an accurate representation of what our fair share is it has,
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, I
That's
just-
according to their budget and their auditors and all of that.
okay.
I don't know if they have any advantage to, mess with the numbers or anything like that. They get audited just like we do.
okay, so we have a motion on the floor, we have support on the floor. Any other discussion? So we are accepting funds, so we do not need a a roll call. So all those in favor of the motion as read and supported, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 12B, Lot 218 annual, that should say MDOT, right? MDOT. 2018 annual permit for work on state trunkway right-of-way.
That's just Department of Transportation. Is it Michigan or is it?
It's down.
MDOT.
Yep.
This is an annual renewal that we have to go through every year.
I make a motion to approve the performance resolution for the governmental agency submitted by MDOT to operate within the state highway right-of-way.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Skornicka, supported by Councilman Eschman. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried. Item 12C, parade permits.
Oh, this one we've already done, we just need to formally do it.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the permit application ex post facto submitted by Brandon Township Recreation Department to conduct the annual September Fest event on Saturday, September 23rd.
Absolutely not.
Did you support it?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I didn't hear what you said, so I wasn't sure.
Yes, support.
Motion by Councilman Giles, supported by Councilman Bryce. All those in favor of the motion as read, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion is carried. We have the annual item C2, the annual Halloween parade permit application submitted by Harvey Swanson School for their parade on Halloween.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the permit application submitted by Harvey Swanson School to conduct a Halloween parade on Tuesday, October 31st, 2017, as submitted.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Dylas, supported by Councilman Skornica. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried.
While we're doing these permits, weren't we, or wasn't a new format going to be submitted? Is that still in the works?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Item 3, Ortonville Crop Walk, Hunger Walk Permit. And that is, there's a little typo in the suggested motion. So it should be Sunday, October 1st on the motion. Whoever reads that.
I make a motion to approve the permit application submitted by Ortonville Crop Hunger Walk to conduct a parade on Sunday, October 1st, 2017, as submitted.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Skornica, supported by Councilman Butsu. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Item D, the Michigan Waters MDEQ NPDES permit.
This is the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit. This is the permit for our sanitary waste discharge into Kersley Creek. It was originally, we had a 5-year permit to perform and begin our construction. It's a difficult permit. If we let it lapse, it's a difficult permit to go back after. You have to do everything all over again and pay for everything all over again. My issue with this is that there are some property owners and business people within the village who are currently active in trying to put something else together that's not publicly funded on their own. If we give up this permit, that'll take away the possibility of them using our discharge permit to operate. So the issue is that this is an annual permit that costs $1,950 a year. And this first year for the application, it's $400 to apply. This is one of the things that David was working on, trying to put those people together in order to try something else. And basically what it is we have the discharge permit within the village, and they would do whatever they could to try to get a certain amount of people on it. And that would be, wouldn't be a private system. We would want to maintain control of it. And the funding wouldn't come from the public per se, but the business owners and property owners. My suggestion, because it's so difficult to get, is to go ahead and reapply, or not reapply, but extend it for at least 1 year and give these business people the opportunity to put something together if they can. If they can't, we can drop out, don't pay for it, and it goes away next year or the year after, or however long you want to keep paying for it. There's some communities that keep them for years once they get them.
I make a motion that we do not pursue renewing the MDEQ NPDES permit.
Support.
Wasn't this already in our budget?
It is.
Yes, that's what I thought. I just want to be sure. Including that $400?
$400 was the initial year only.
Oh, excuse me.
The initial year only was the $400.
We have to do the $400 again, correct, John?
No.
$400 for one time for
Of the 5 years, yes.
5 years.
We have to do it now
Yeah.
for the next 5 years.
Right.
Yeah, okay, but I was just checking, is that in there?
Question is, that's right, you already got the.
Okay, I received a call, and I want to play this. It's from a It's from a business owner who is voicing his concern and his opinion, and it's something that I think our community needs to hear. It's not X-rated, but it's an important commentary from a very established business. For those of you who don't know it, Lane Car Company is now gone. They have sold their business. They have left the community, and he wants to tell us why.
Hi, Wayne. Hey, buddy, listen, just wanted to give you a call back. I appreciate the fact that you reached out and checked on me, but hey, yeah, I'm moving on. I've got to move on from Ortonville. I've been there and done that, you know, over and over. I've tried to support that town, but I've sold my house and I'm selling my business, and it's just time to go. You just can't get any support there. It's just a dead-end street, and I've been fighting it too long, and they just wore me out. And, as you know, that's why they can't keep business there. That's why nobody likes to come. It's because you run into brick wall after brick wall dealing with those people down there. I just had to put a new septic field in, $32,000, and I'm just over it. You don't get any support, and I'm the guy that supported the high school every program. So I just wanted to give you a heads up and just let you know, but, it's going to be a problem. As long as they've got these people in there, nothing's ever going to get done, and they're going to live in the 80s. And I just don't want to be a part of that. So I've sold my house, and I'm selling my business, and I'm out of there. But good luck to you, Wayne, and I wish you well and hope all is well. Take care.
So there you got a responsible business owner who's not making any money in the village of Ortonville, and he made a wise business decision to save his investment and leave. I can assure you, Sewers did not sell cars.
Well, the point of the matter is that, he feels totally unsupported, and as a business person, and, the fact that you're not wanting to spend $1,950 to support the business needs of our community is unconscionable to me.
But also, at the same respect, we don't have the business people coming here today or sending a letter or anything saying, hey, we've got a plan that we're putting together to do something. They're not saying that they're doing anything.
Well, when we try to put a plan together, you fire
I was just going to say that.
fire the village manager for it. Hey, I'm just telling you the truth.
There was no plan as a council as a whole, that, to my knowledge, on whatever he was working on.
When the
Wayne.
business owners were working on a plan, they were shut down by us.
Does Mr. Lane live in the village of?
He lives on Baldigo Lake, and he could get no cooperation from Brandon Township because Baldigo Lake has isures as well.
Okay,
And
so
so
he
he
lives in the township.
He lives in the township.
Okay.
He sold it. He's now moved to Grand Blanc, where they have all those things. So
Is this business in Brandon Township also?
it's in the village of
One was in
Ortonville.
the village, one was in the township.
He had two locations, one across from Bullfrogs and one here in the
Lane
village.
Car Company.
Lane Car Company.
Yeah, and I saw that, and it's,
And now it sits empty, and now we.
He gave thousands of dollars to the Ortonville Lions Club in donations. He gave thousands of dollars to the Brandon School District in donations. And, so this is the way he's being treated. So I can't blame him, and I'm not.
What has the village ever done to not help him, though? Or to stonewall him, or to put up a brick wall, as he said?
Well, he's looking for some support on sewers. So
Because,
as a
right,
matter
he
of
moved
fact-
in
He
before
even
the
mentioned
sewer
sewers,
vote.
though, in his comment. He didn't say anything
He
about
said he had to
sewers.
put in a new sewage system, and he's done with it. He said,
Because he bought the building before the sewer vote. When it was shut down, he now has to put a new septic system.
yeah, so.
And I do remember this council, probably before others, when Mr. Lane first moved in, we talked about establishing a nice electronic sign. We approved it for him to move forward with building that in his new business there. So as far as I'm concerned, the people spoke about the sewers. It had nothing to do with stonewalling, whatever you want to assume he was meaning on that call.
Well, it's just indicative, if the business people want to fund something or want to band together and do something, how is that being, in looking at their interests whatsoever? I mean, I have no property in the village of Ortonville from a business perspective. I have one residence, but yet I think that this downtown deserves more than what this council is willing to give it. And I'm really, really upset that this council cannot find itself able to support in any measure, including a renewal of a permit
For sewers.
for discharge for anything.
A discharge permit.
Discharge permit. If 4 or 5 businesses want to band together and put together a system, because it's the most cost-effective way for them to share their expense, and we're standing in their way, how are we supporting them?
The pub figured it out.
The village residents.
The pub paid $130,000 for a system that has to be pumped once a week.
They figured it out.
I think there's a lot of, even if it's a business, there are business people, and there are some that maybe aren't as good. Just because you run a business doesn't mean you walk on water. I mean, they make mistakes or errors or whatever the case is. But it's like Keith said, I don't see why, because you have to put money into a building, that it's a council or somebody's problem up here, Wayne. It doesn't.
Well, I'd
Mr.
like to
President, sorry.
mention the survey done that everybody received a copy of from the DDA, what our community wants in our township, our downtown, not our township. Our community numerous times talks about the businesses and what we are not providing our businesses, numerous times in those surveys from our community. And I know everybody received a copy because I asked Matt to give them to everybody. And in every single question, the people's response are no sewers, no businesses, no sewers, no businesses, over and over again.
I
Our
didn't get a
people.
copy.
I don't
It was
recall.
emailed to you after our meeting with the DDA.
Well, if you could mail me, or email me
Matt
another
emailed
one,
them to
I
everybody.
would
can-
love to
he-
see it.
Ask, yeah, he'll email them again. But everybody, like I said, if you go to the DDA meeting, if you listen to what the people want, we're doing what we think they want, not what people are telling us they want. We have to listen to people. And if we can't have businesses downtown, our residents are going to leave too. So I'm not saying our residents made a decision, but what about our businesses? They get a decision too. So if they choose to do something, I think we have to balance that. The residents don't have to, but the businesses might want to.
Well, please email me another copy of that then, because I didn't get the first one, and I would like to read that.
I was talking to neighbors of mine that just stopped me on the street one day, Carly and Alden Maddox, who lived kitty corner from me on Church Street. They moved in from Chicago about 4 years ago, and they came to our sewer meetings incredibly against the sewers. I mean, they were very against the sewers. And they stood up at the school and at the forum we had at the Performing Arts Center and spoke very eloquently. And what she said to me really took me back a couple weeks ago. She said, Wayne, she says, I'm against sewers for residences, but she says, I want it so badly because I like our businesses in our downtown. I will contribute to the businesses getting sewers. I don't want them for myself. I don't want them for the residents, but I will contribute. Let me know.
Wayne, do you know which businesses sewers will support in this village and make their business thrive today? We flip a switch, we have a golden key, we put sewers in tomorrow. Which businesses today will thrive because of sewers? I'd like to know that.
Which ones wouldn't?
How many business owners are village residents?
Which ones will thrive?
All of them.
Oh.
Which ones?
Well, you can't use public bathrooms in many of them. They won't allow you because there isn't a bathroom. There would be full food in the pub if you choose to go there. Speaking for Brenda, I know she's talked about maybe have coffee, cafe, something along that lines when she moved in. I don't know about now. I'm not speaking for her, but many of them.
Could I ask Dan, did you happen to get an opportunity, I don't think I saw you there, but have you tried to attend any of the DDA informative sessions that they've had? They had one recently where Main Street came out, Oakland County came out, and they did go over and cover a lot of the potential businesses that we could have in downtown. But many of the things that they said would do really well in our community based upon the most recent surveys they've done aren't possible without the sewer.
You know what, another question that couldn't even get answered? And first of all, we're here representing our people, which they voted, the residents voted no. But one other question that's never been asked is, how many business owners live and reside in the village of Ortonville? I'd like to know how many.
We could be one, we tried. Multiple times.
So again,
Again,
somebody invests to come into a demographic such as Ortonville and expects it to be a thriving metropolis with sewers, they invested wrong. They should invest in businesses that thrive in a small community such as ours, and that's the reason why we came here. So do we have an obligation to support someone's investment? I tell you, go up north. There's so many little shops, quaint, specific, targeting, nice boutiques with quality clothes. Very small shop. They don't need sewers. They're selling nice clothes right off the rack. Because why? It's unique. They go out and buy the stuff, and they got somebody coming in and out. But to me, business owners need to understand the demographic, what we're here and why we're here, and develop business plans around that.
So you have a feeling that the business downtown area is not relevant to what the residents here do, that there's no connection between what the businesses can do in downtown and whether we have a thriving downtown and the welfare of our community and what's available for people in our immediate community.
Yeah, I'm not gonna. You're running the meeting, so I don't want to address the public. I could go
Well, I
on
think
all night.
there's
I could go on all night, but that's not. We got a motion.
Wayne, to your point though, again, I don't think we're doing anything to stonewall the businesses or put up a wall and not help them. If the businesses came to us and said, hey, we have a plan, this is what we want to try to accomplish to get sewers for the businesses downtown, we would look at that. But nobody's done that.
I don't know that we would.
One of the things with that meeting.
Well, we are one of the last two villages in Oakland County that do not have sewers. I see some very quaint villages in our county. We are one of two left in the entire county.
Yeah. Okay, I've said my piece.
Again, we have to look at sewers. We voted on them in 2015. They were not at all affordable.
We voted down the financing
so
of sewers. We did not vote down sewers. There's a difference.
For the residents.
We voted down the financing of the sewers.
Well,
We voted on sewers.
I also don't need a sewer at my home.
Yeah, it was a cost.
Yeah, I voted on the cost. I want sewers. We want sewers.
Yeah, well, so anyway, we need to move on. And so we have a motion and,
You have a motion?
I read the motion.
I support it.
and so we have a motion by Councilman Eschman and supported by Councilman Butsu to not renew the annual $1,950.
Can I ask a
Permit.
question, John? Do you know what, if we decide to let the permit lapse, what does it take to renew the permit?
Well, you just have to start all over again and try it, and then a lot of it, they're based on, well, like if someone downstream or upstream from you wants to take up like a space, they only allow so much in the Kersley Creek. And it would be just as difficult as it was the first time.
But as far as cost, is it $2,000, $5,000?
No, with all of the work that would have to be done on it, I would think 15 or 20,000.
So we spent $20,000 to get that permit to begin with?
About that, I would assume, yeah.
Should have voted on
No,
that.
they just don't, you can laugh, Dan, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to be rude to you, but that's a very intricate thing. They just don't hand those things out.
I get it, John.
We're killing that creek.
I get it.
We're killing the creek and we're killing the people in this village, and I'm sorry I'm out of line. But
That's okay.
that's the bottom line. The people vote. I agree with you. No one knows that better than me. I'm the one that got my taillights kicked out. Okay? On election night. That upsets me. I wish I could get my hands around their neck. But that's BS, what happened here. They have the right to vote, they don't have the right to tear up my car,
Absolutely.
or right on the mill, or anything, show complete
Absolutely.
disrespect, and that's,
I agree.
now I'm way out of line, and I apologize to you before
You're
this
all
even
right,
goes
John.
any further. But,
Understood.
what this is, this MPDS permit, wow, is, to me, my recommendation is, and that's all I can do, is to do it for a year. If nothing happens, the business people were working on that when David was fired, that's what they were doing. And I suggest that we do it, and if you don't want to spend the money, I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? If not, we'll take a, let's see. So we're not voting not to spend the money, so all those in favor?
I have a
You
question.
had a question?
So is this something that the DDA could reimburse for? I mean, since it's the business, can the DDA reimburse?
DDA can do anything they want, right?
Well, but I mean, if we're doing, I mean, because technically it's the village
It's a good
residents'
question.
budget.
It's a good question.
The village residents said
I don't know.
no for the treatment, and now we'd be paying, we would be expending their money that they voted no for, so in lieu of that, so we didn't lose a permit. If the DDA wants that and wanted to pursue it, even though the council hasn't approved any design of that nature, keep, on the record for that, can they reimburse this permit?
Good question. I don't know the answer, and the deadline is September 29th, so,
Well, I mean,
and that's,
And this deadline's been well out there in advance. Mr. Trent brought it up. We found it in our, I believe it was our budget auditing.
Right,
and
exactly.
It was attempted to be swept under the rug. It was not your fault, John. And we unearthed this $1,900, and I don't believe we approved it at that time because, if I recollect, we asked enough questions to where we did not approve that for the upcoming budget. So I don't believe it's in the budget because we unearthed it through asking multiple questions to Mr. Trent.
okay, all those, we'll have a roll call.
Can you read the
No.
motion again, please?
It's to reject it.
Or just
Can you read the motion, please?
Yeah, I make a motion that we do not move forward with renewing the MDEQ and PDES permit.
And that was supported by Councilman Butsu.
And I've got Skornica,
because we don't have an answer for the DDA reimbursement, no.
Sleva,
No.
Wills,
So a no vote is
A no
against
vote
it.
is a yes vote.
Right.
Wait a minute, what?
Wait a minute here.
Not
Motion
to
was
pursue
to
would be a
not-
yes vote. To pursue it would be a no
Yeah.
vote. Okay, thank you.
I thought it was a yes, no on the motion.
Yes.
So,
Do you agree with the motion, yes or no?
Correct.
They're voting against my motion.
Correct.
Right.
Okay,
Okay,
we're on
you
the same
scared me
page.
when you said.
We're saying
way-
no, not to
wait,
spend the
let's
money.
I
just
was
clarify,
vote- I-
let's clarify this again.
What were you voting?
He didn't vote correctly.
I didn't think so.
Colleen reworded it. Ms. Skornica, trustee Skornica, she had reworded it, so I'm not really sure how to vote on this.
What was
Will
reworded?
you read it?
No, I was just saying for my vote, since we don't have the answer to
Read
the
it again,
DDA.
please, Liz, if you would.
motion by Eschman, seconded by Butsu, to not pursue the renewal of the NPDES permit at a cost of,
$1,950.
thank you.
I'm gonna cancel this.
So it's to not pursue is the motion.
So you would vote, okay.
Yes, you would vote yes if you did not.
Yeah, I got it.
And I've got Skornica listed as a no.
So, yes.
Okay, Skornica's a yes. Sleva,
Yes.
Wills,
No.
Bryce,
No?
Butsu,
Yes.
Dilus,
No.
Eschman.
Yes.
So the motion not to pursue it passes. Item, let's see, so we're on 12E, the DTE street lights LED conversion. This is something that Councilman Dilus has been pushing and pursuing. So, John, what do you have here?
I think we asked DTE to come in and do a survey and give us a proposal to replace all of the streetlights within the village. And we have it here in the packet. The total upfront cost is $23,661. We would be replacing every streetlight, not the ornamentals, but every streetlight within the village. With the credits and savings that we would receive, the payback on that investment would be in 2.43 years. They have a issue with scheduling now. The village president has asked me to hold back on requesting a vote on this tonight in order for me to complete the short CIP that I'm in the process of making for you, and include that on the CIP. I don't think a month or two would make a big difference, but we want to go ahead and approve this so they can schedule it so we can get it in the first thing in the spring. I think it's a worthwhile investment, and we should move forward with it.
You know, one thing I think we need to, I think this is a great initiative, but, you know, the amount of lumens that an LED light could be put out could be immense. So we should be talking about what the lumen rating should be when we go to install these LED lights. I think it's a great initiative. I think it's great savings. 2.4 years to a turnaround is not bad for the investment, but we should be specifying what the lumens are.
So then we can just call them and ask them and get that pretty easy. I think that.
And then would they fit into our current lighting structure that's out there?
That's what they proposed.
That's what the bid
All
is.
right.
They're
All
giving us a credit for pulling the old ones. They're gonna
All
pay
right.
for that, but then they're gonna charge us to put the new ones in. So I imagine there's some tinkering they gotta do up there.
All right.
Is there, oh, I'm sorry, okay, there it is, the rebate.
I guess I don't know, is there real reason to wait? Why would we not just go ahead and approve it
Well,
tonight?
the reason is, and from my standpoint, is that, you know, we wanted, and we need to follow a process.
Okay.
And you were bringing this up, the capital improvement plan is a process. There's no reason why it has to be done, because we cannot get on DTE's schedule until next spring anyway. So if this has not gone to the Streets Committee, then it should.
Is there a deadline in which we have to let DTE know about this to get them on?
Just the sooner, the sooner we approve it, they can put us on right on schedule.
But there's not really a deadline.
No,
So if we approved it next meeting, it would be
yeah,
okay.
90 days, 120 or something. before-
So my only comment
Who's
is
on the
that
street, who's on the streets committee?
you,
So moved.
Can you run it by, please?
well, see, again, going back to the other issues that are on the anticipated capital improvement plan, then, you know, if we're just gonna do this without having full deliberation,
To look at the whole picture.
look at the whole big picture. That's my only point. There is a process. If we're gonna have a CIP, are we gonna follow the CIP?
We don't have it yet.
I think when we do have the CIP, we will follow the CIP, but this is one of those situations where it pays for itself. So as long as we have money to do the project, we would do it because it pays for itself, and within 2.5 years, we're starting to make money on it.
I can't argue that point. I'm just pointing it out.
The process.
I'm pointing it out.
But if we would have done it a year ago when you asked, we would be a year into 2.5 years.
Right.
Follow all
So we might as well
processes.
just
Colleen's big on process.
Well,
Well, it's like, that's what they're, you know, either you do them or modify
When we first
them.
did it and got the estimates like 3 or 4 years ago, this is 1/3 the cost. And the payback is like 1/3 the time, because it was gonna be payback in like 6 years when we did it.
Yeah, LEDs are constantly coming down in price.
So things are changing.
And would this include the traffic lights as well?
No,
No.
streetlights only streetlights.
are there any further rebates if
Move
we,
traffic light.
if we wait 6 months to do this? Or to the spring?
Sometimes it might go away because the
Sometimes
money's
they,
not available.
usually I know Detroit Edison, they restructure their rebates the first of the year and either fund them or not, at least residentially, so.
So
It's
your
just a question
suggestion
to
is
ask
to
him
wait
if
a
he
month
can
until we
Yeah.
have our capital improvement project? Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
yeah. I'm just saying, just.
Wait 2 years. What's a month?
Wait, just a month, because they're not gonna be able to get it into their schedule until next spring anyway. I think it's a worthy idea.
So if we're gonna wait a month, which is fine with me, would we be able to determine what the lumens are and what that means to having a light over someone's house or whatever? How bright?
Comparatively,
Call them and ask them.
yeah, compared, the existing streetlight we have compared to the new LED, what would the illumination difference be? Measured like at the street or something?
And can you not replace the one in my window?
It
Yeah,
took
unless they're
them a
gonna come
little
with
while
dimmers.
to develop the proposal, but they did respond like almost immediately. So I think I can get ahold of this guy and ask him.
Thanks, John.
Bane.
Okay, so we're gonna revisit that next month.
Yeah.
Okay, item, new business 12F. Master plan recommendations.
the joint meeting, it was discussed to revisit the master plan, village master plan. The planning commission visited, we had 2 members of the planning commission here, and we discussed exactly what we wanted to do. Didn't want to do the whole master plan all over again. There's no need for some of that stuff to be redone, to revisit. We asked McKenna, who is the authors of the current master plan that we're on. We also asked Rural Engineering to bid on the work that we wanted done. As thought, the planner came in with a little less with their bid, and I feel more comfortable with McKenna doing that portion of it, and then I'm more with the CIP. I'm a little more comfortable with the engineer doing that. But for this one that I'm working on now, I'm going to do it. Okay, so we're not worrying about the CIP now. I'm going to be looking at Rowe and McKenna for that, but I'm going to lean towards the engineer just like I lean towards the planner on this. They submitted a program that they wanted to do and that the planning commission asked for. The lump sum fee was $20,500 for that, and they go on from there. There's a couple of things that they suggested that we do. The planning commission discussed all of those things, and they recommended that we move forward with this quote from McKenna.
So the total would be, the total of 20,500 plus the 75 for the
Sherrod.
for the 2 Sherrods?
Yep.
I'm sorry, John, and you might have said, and I was reading too, who wrote our last master plan?
McKenna.
Was it McKenna? Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
And how much did it cost them?
47, something like that.
But that was the first one, or?
Well, they redid it. Yeah,
That was
they
in
redid it.
2000,
So that was the real one.
2010?
10 or 11.
Adopted?
2008.
2008. And I'm sorry, and how much was it then? 47?
I believe it's 47 right in there. Yeah.
And again, this comes out of the joint meeting that we had with the township and the DDA, trying to get direction with the DDA and the village on projects and what direction we wanted to see the village move into. And so what projects do we need to execute to achieve the master plan? And our master plan, our current master plan is a bit outdated and needs to be updated so that we're all on the same page and we're all trying to do the same projects to achieve common goals.
So looking at this, and I understand we want to pick apart the pieces that are broke and leave what's good in the master plan.
Yes.
So this looks like it's more than just picking apart. This looks like it's evaluating a lot more. So have the planning commission identified, no kidding, the several bullets, the 20 bullets, or whatever they may be, on what's broken, what needs to be fixed?
That's what we'll do with McKenna.
There'll be meetings with
Yeah.
them to decide.
And that's
exactly.
part of the 2-day charrettes too, to get the community involvement on what things they want to see added or deleted or kept.
If I could,
So,
would you like me to?
Larry, yeah?
Yeah, Larry Hayden, 200 Mill Street, and Planning Commissioner. Yeah, I think one of the reasons that we feel that we really need to revisit this and have it reworked is, it's not just a matter that there's some things that are broken, some things that are good, and we just need to pick through it a little bit. We had a significant vote a few years back, so everybody knows about sewers. I felt at that time that we really needed to do something with the master plan at that time to reflect that we don't have any real foreseeable sewers coming into the community, and I felt that at that time that we probably should at least do something to address that in the master plan. Now, we did not do anything at that time other than just extend it because we didn't feel anything else that significantly changed at that time. But I think everybody would agree that we can see that there has been a lot of confusion or misdirection based upon people looking at the master plan saying, oh, this is what it says in the plan and it talks about sewers versus what the actual will of the people in the council has appeared to be and contrary to that. So I think that one of the things that we need to do is take a look at that and not just take some things out and fix some things like that, but also take a look and to help address, as Wayne said, we have businesses in the community that are hurting. They need support. And if we know that sewers are not really a viable direction in the foreseeable future or in the immediate future, I think that we need to go back to the master plan, revisit it, and try to rework parts of it to see what we can do to align it in a future, more directly in a future where we don't have sewers, and still try to find out how do we get to where we want to be with our community. So I think that's one of the main things, is that there are dynamics that have changed, and the data is 10 years old. We need to get that all updated. We need to take a look at some other way to align the direction better, to try to support our businesses better and things like that. And I think that's why I think it really needs a more thorough review than just looking at a few pieces here and there.
Yeah, and the other thing that precipitated this, Dan, is that when we started talking about the repurposing of Fletcher Intermediate School building, we were told and we realized that the master plan did not provide for potential use other than as a public use facility of that building. So a private business could not come in there and buy that building with the current master plan and ordinances like they are. So it would have to be, that portion would have to be reworked for sure. And along with everything else that we're talking about. So those are two issues right there that were big ones.
And I am aware of both of those. But I guess my point is, if the planning commission knows which ones that we need to go after, and minus all the meetings with McKenna Associates, and say, okay, here's what putting our heads together with our community and what we want to see our community look like after, the sewer vote's been down, how much money will that save us off the $20,500? Because you have a beautiful plan now. You can take a X and X out which one's got to be rewritten, and it's, to me, it's Word document, it's Excel, whatever you got to do to plug and play. And $20,000 to me is a lot of money for maybe a handful of things. I don't know if it's a handful. It might be 24 things. I don't know. But I think, I'm just thinking about the $20,000, and is there any way we can?
And I know it seems like a lot, but if you read the detail of the quote, there's actually a lot that goes into that.
And it's not all encompassing, so there could be additional costs, right?
No, I think he covers it pretty good, yeah.
It does, but I did read some statements in there that additional charges would be if it went over X amount of meetings. Is that right?
If we request, if the village requests a meeting, they will be invoiced.
But again,
I have to also add that my experience when I worked with McKenna in the past, when we did this current master plan, is that they do bring a lot to the table too, in terms of if there's any changes in terms of state or law or programs out there, or different directions that communities going. They bring a lot of things in that as planning commissioners, we don't have the time to do research and everything. I'm sure you don't have time to spend 40 hours a week, every week, researching stuff that comes before the council. So you have to rely on experts like McKenna to help expose some of those changes and things that have come up in communities and government and opportunities and stuff. So that's where I think they bring a lot of value to the plan, because we might say, oh yeah, this is fine, but they might say, you know what, this is really outdated. There's a really new trend that you guys should consider, and they can bring that to our attention and get that incorporated in the plan, and we wouldn't even be aware of those things.
I'm not saying to take them out of the picture. I'm just saying if we had some pre-work done, and then it'd be, okay, McKenna, this is what we know we need to do, and then, okay, of what we have now, what is your recommendation that we just, go after? To me, this looks like it's, okay, reopening the whole book. That's the way I read this. I could be wrong, but it looks like you're covering pretty much everything and reviewing everything.
Well, and that also takes into consideration the meetings that we will be attending, right? So, this isn't our first master plan, it's not even our first master plan.
Exactly.
Right, so we have a good understanding of how many meetings it takes to get a master plan like this accomplished for you guys. So there is language in there if there's additional meetings that are necessary. But that's more along lines that...
Excuse me, Mike, would you come up to the microphone? Sure. We can hear you, but the people at home won't be able to.
Oh, sure.
Introduce yourself, if you would, please.
So my name is Mike Dean. I am a senior planner with McKenna. We've been a planning group in Michigan for 40 years. We've been planners for Ortonville for, a while, right?
20 plus, anyway.
So we do master plans all over, the state and really the region, all over the Midwest. And so when we put together a proposal, we take into consideration, our knowledge of the area and how many meetings we think are accurate, right? Because the last thing we want to do is charge you guys for too many meetings or not have enough meetings on our end to cover our costs. We are, we have the amount of meetings that we have in this proposal. If we go over, what's intended that is that if we're going through the process and we need an extra meeting or two, that's not a big deal. It's intended like if we get to the end and then we need to go back to the beginning, that's where the extra meetings start coming in, right? And so from our experience, to help prevent that from happening, we have a lot of public participation, and we try and do these in as many open meetings as possible so that we can get as much information up front so we don't have to go back and redo work, 2 or 3 times. So when we're talking about the additional meetings, that's really what we're talking about. We're not talking about, all right, well, it's 10 o'clock, Planning Commission's tired, we need to go to the, carry this over to next month. That's not what that's intended for the additional meetings.
So would you say that McKenna could come in and identify what businesses would thrive in a community or demographic such as Ortonville without sewers?
Sure. So one of the things that we'll end up doing is, I'm trying to remember what exactly it's called, but it's like a trade area study. So it looks at 1 mile, 5 miles, 10 miles of the needs, and there are services that help identify what potential uses are underserved, are overserved, and would be marketed towards the community that or the areas that are being part of that market study. So it would identify the types of businesses, not like a specific business, not without names, but it'll say general retail apparel or gas station. So it does break it down, and then you'll have that information to make decisions based off of.
Would I be allowed to ask a question?
Sure.
If you stand up to the microphone, please.
I know that our DDA is already working with Main Street in Oakland County.
Yep.
And they may have a lot of those types of demographic studies that you were talking about. In fact, I think they just got some updated information on that. If we...
So some of it might have been stuff we gave them.
Might have been.
So.
Could be. If we collaborate or coordinate with the DDA in Main Street with some of this information, and they already have some of that covered, would that potentially reduce the cost of your work on the master plan then?
Potentially.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we'd have to look, at specifics, but sure.
Okay.
But that might be one potential way to try to bring the cost down a little bit, save a little bit of money. I'm just thinking, we could collaborate with people who are already doing that.
That's a good point.
Yeah, good job.
And again, I'm as cost conscious, I think, as anybody on the board, and I hate to spend money unless we absolutely have to, but we want to put together a good, viable capital improvement plan that executes the projects that are in our master plan to achieve that. And in order to do that, we need to have a good master plan. And the reason why I'm bringing this up so much is there was a community recently that I noticed that they wanted to do a project, and it was about $150,000 to do the project. And instead of the township, it was a township project actually, but instead of the township paying for it, they solicited businesses to sponsor it, and then also raise donations to pay for the project. So it was all paid for a $150,000 project without any township money. It was all by businesses and private. So we could do the same types of projects, but we have to have them planned out. And so we need a good capital improvement plan to plan those projects. But in order to have the capital improvement plan, you have to have a master plan that's executing. So it's time to revise our master plan so we can put together a good capital improvement plan and actually try to achieve some projects.
And one of the goals of the updated master plan is to become a redevelopment ready community as the MEDC. Conceptually, there'd be additional funds available for a community that has a traditional downtown like you guys do. And I know the DDA has looked into it. So that's part of the proposal, is to make sure the document meets those standards so that you can become a redevelopment ready community. Now, I can't guarantee you're going to get any money, right? But I can guarantee that you'll be certified, right? But
So this covers 6 total meetings, it includes hearings and workshops, and so 6 total, and anything over 6 would be $500 a meeting after that.
Correct. There was also an option for a charrette. I don't know if that was part of the recommendation from
Yep.
the planning commission or not, but
2 charrettes.
it's a 2-day charrette, right? So, yeah. And so that's a really intensive public participation where we meet with a large group of stakeholders on, and yeah, I think the focus of that would be more along the lines of the school property to help create a redevelopment plan that's right for the village to address that. But school would be heavily involved with that. All of you would definitely be heavily involved with it.
Is the charrette typically geared towards the public participation?
Yes. Yep.
So anyways, my concern with the school property is that we don't develop a master plan such that it will lock us into a certain business that maybe otherwise would want to come in, right?
Right.
So how do you, I mean, that's, right now, I think that's where we're at. But-
Yeah, right now it's locked.
Right now it's locked. We want to unlock it.
Yeah, we want to unlock.
And so you take that into consideration, right? You figure out these are the conditions that you would feel would be right for that site. So it may not even be identifying uses. It's more identifying, well, what's the look and feel of the buildings? What's the density that you would want to see there? And then we could put those together and create an overlay district specifically for that property. Or we could classify it as part of a zoning district. There's a lot of options that you can take that leaves it open enough that, you know, there's flexibility, but at the same time protects the village. So you don't get like a prison or something. Not that that would happen, but, you know, so you don't get a use that you definitely don't want.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Thanks.
So where are we at? Do we
Make a motion.
have a motion for this? I don't,
I'd like to make a motion, to go with McKenna and Associates proposal in the amount of $20,500, as well as the 2-day charrette of $7,500, to revise our master plan.
I'll
Support.
go ahead.
So we have money in the budget for this?
Not as a line item, no.
No.
So, okay, so we pulling it from the general fund, or we're?
Yep.
Do we
We're
know?
protecting the general
So-
fund
so
for
we-
what?
Okay,
I get it, but.
so we have a motion, we have support, and talking about the disbursement of the payment schedule, how does that happen? How frequently do we have to, how are we gonna be billed?
So
Roughly, just 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, or
No, it's
1/4?
more
Quarter,
Right, so we have our schedule.
Oh, it is?
Right, so if it's broken down between 6 and 8 months, so, you know, we're not gonna pre-charge you for any work. We're gonna, you know, as it happens,
Page, Mayor.
you know, so I would say, you
It's on
know, over,
I just said it.
payments over 6 to 8 months, and, you know, if there's a specific way you wanna handle that, we can work that out.
All at the end.
Yeah. But, I mean, we can.
I thought I heard him say yeah.
It's like page 15, is that what I'm seeing?
I think
That's where I
so.
saw money, yeah.
Yeah, there's money on 15,
Yeah,
page
okay.
15.
Okay. Any other questions, comments?
So I'm sorry, did the motion say not to exceed that amount?
It did not.
Want to revise it to say not to exceed?
I would suggest that we not exceed that amount.
Sure.
That, for me, yeah.
To not exceed the $28,000. Liz, did you catch that?
I'm sorry.
Not to
We
exceed.
just want to stick in there,
Not to
exceed.
And then,
Motion by Councilman Dylas, supported by Councilman Bryce.
And then
Any other questions?
One other comment that I like to make, and a lot of times, and it has nothing to do with our planning commission, DDA, council, obviously there seems to be quite a gap between those three at times, and it would be nice to know whatever's being discussed, should be a collaborative discussion between council, planning, DDA, and McKenna, such that when it does come to council, it's not a surprise all of a sudden that we're voting on something maybe that as council we don't agree with. So somehow we have to bring the three groups including McKenna, together to make sure we're all on the same page as we revise the master plan.
So,
It may
you
be
know,
more-
for the kickoff meeting that we're gonna have, I think that'll be one of the key indicators that we're gonna figure out, is how to keep you guys, keep all the parties fully informed the entire process. So like I said, I don't want us to get to the end and then have to come back, so.
Well, yeah, if there's
Neither
more
do we.
collaboration during it than at the end, because then, you know, we can all hear all the issues that are brought up and hear the discussions and answers, so.
I'm all for more collaboration, because I know the DDA is working really hard for our community. We try to do the same thing at planning commission. I know you guys are trying to serve the community, and that's what we need to do, is get together and collaborate.
So will these 6 meetings be set such that the council could be involved in? And I mean, is it 100% planning commission with McKenna, or how does that, what is the normal?
Well, you have your liaison down there in the planning commission. So we're gonna have to weigh heavily on him, or I would rely heavily on him.
Well,
Well, if he doesn't bring us the issues that he may not think is an issue, and we might.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
there's specific public
His opinion versus
participation,
ours.
right? So the public visioning session, you guys really need to be there, right?
I think we want to be involved before that, because then we're supporting the program in front of the public as opposed to being part of the public and
Well,
being
you know,
against.
I think part of the purpose of the vision session is to elicit information from the public to help drive the project going forward, right? And that's also part of the charrette, which you guys would definitely be very involved with. And then there's the public hearings, right? There's multiple public hearings that you have to hold, right? State requirements and notice of surrounding communities.
Those are more towards the end of the process, though.
So there's one in the middle and then one at the end.
They're not technically at the beginning.
No.
Okay.
And of course, it is an open meeting at planning commission, or any of these meetings would be open meetings, so anybody can attend if they desire. It would be up to the council whether they want to actually pay council members to attend as like a joint meeting or something like that, but I mean, everybody's always welcome to attend any of our planning commission meetings.
Correct. Other questions? Liz, would you repeat the motion, please?
See if I have it right. The motion was to move forward with McKenna and Associates to update the village master plan at a cost not to exceed, was it the 28,000? Do you want me to include the 2-day charrette or anything in there?
Well,
That would include
And
it.
it does
yeah,
include
which
that.
which includes the
That's
2 days.
Okay.
Which includes a 2-day charrette. Okay, roll call vote, please.
Sleva,
Yes.
Wills,
Yes.
Bryce,
Yes?
Butsu,
Yes.
Dilus,
Yes.
Eshman,
Yes.
Skornica.
Yes. Okay.
Motion carries.
I thought you were gonna adjourn quickly before.
We're not adjourning, we got another item.
Sometimes you're so fast on that.
Next item on our agenda is the item G, Planning Commission request resolution due consideration towards the end of your packet.
Larry, did you want to bring up the next?
Sure.
Yeah, at our last planning commission meeting, we have, as everybody is aware of in our community, we know that the township has to make a decision whether they want to continue to pursue trails or not for the township. We feel that the township's decision is going to have a direct impact on our community because of our plan is to have walkability and connection to trails in other communities. And of course, Brandon Township is the community we're most closely tied to. So as part of Brandon community, and also in the interest of our master plan and the goals that we have in there, we drafted a motion in support of trails within our communities. And that motion was sent on to you guys, and we would like to ask you guys to also support the direction of trails within our communities and let Brandon Township know that Ortonville and the Planning Commission supports trails.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
So, village residents, everyone knows that we pay two taxes. We pay village tax and we pay Brandon Township tax. It irks me that we have two governments in such a small community, all right? I don't enjoy being up here when I know Brandon Township's talking, but guess what? There's a cost to these trails. So there's gonna be a cost to us as village residents on the Brandon Township side to maintain and build trails in Brandon Township. And when they hit the village borders, there's also gonna be another cost to the same residents that live in this village, all right? Do we know what those costs are gonna be? So that's what we're voting on, whether our residents can afford to pay two costs to establish a trail that not only we're gonna support as a Brandon Township resident, but also as a village resident.
So, I'm not quite sure what the question is.
Are we gonna pay two fees for, one for the Brandon Township Trail and one for the village trail?
Well, we already have in our master plan and in the joint Parks and Recs plans, we talk about walkability in our communities and we talk about trails. And sidewalks.
Will Brandon Township ask for more money for the village residents for their trail in Brandon Township, which is what we're part of? And then will village council be also asking our residents to pay another fee for the trail that, once it enters in our community?
Well, I can't answer.
Into the
how
village
township's
limits.
gonna do
I know you
it,
can't,
but
and we're here
unless-
making decisions for that, and we don't know.
I'm just gonna say that we are already paying our taxes. It's a question about what we want the community to do with our taxes that we're already paying. I'm not gonna be paying any more or less taxes if there's trails or not trails, because they're collecting my taxes anyways. It's a question of what they're gonna spend the money on. And, you know, the way I see it is, I hear a lot of people against trails. I see a lot of negativity about trails. People are saying mostly, I'm fine with trails as long as it's not in my backyard or in my front yard. What I don't understand, though, is the people who are opposed to trails because they're saying, oh, well, I'm going to have a bunch of strangers coming by. One of the things that I really loved about our community when I moved out here was the sense of community, the sense of knowing the people in the area, you know, knowing your neighbors. When we put sidewalks in the village of Ortonville, my neighbor came to me months later and says, you know what? When they first put that sidewalk in front of my house, I didn't want it. He says, but now that it's been in there, I'm really glad it is because I'm meeting so many more people and neighbors and I really enjoy, you know, having the opportunity to use the sidewalks and stuff. I think many people don't, you know, they forget that the people who are going to be using those trails are people in our community. It's not some strangers. It's your neighbors. It's your friends. It's people you know in the area that the trails are for. It's not for outside strangers coming in. And I think it also brings value to the community. And if, you know, there's study after study that shows benefits of trails in communities. And, you know, if people don't want to look at those studies or see the facts, I can't do that.
You know what I'm concerned about is there's an alternate trail route that was proposed, right? And there's a trail, I don't know if you drive up and down Sashabaw Road, but right next to the park, they're putting in a trail there, all right? Heavily run road there. We all travel it to and from work. Most of us do, some don't. But you want to know what? When it's done, it's going to be a nice little trail there. And guess what? It's on a major highway. So why is the people for trails so heck bent on putting a trail through someone's backyard as opposed to coming up Seymour Lake Road, which is a nice road, by the way. You drive it, it's country, you have it offset off the highway, and it's beautiful. Okay, once it hits M15, then you have marshlands you go through, whatever, but all visible, all safe, basically the least amount of intrusion to residents. But yet, the trails, people that want trails, don't even want to consider a different route. They're stuck on the two routes that are already there now.
Well, Dan, our purpose was not to try to promote any particular route or anything else like that. I think that the township still has a lot of work to do before they would be able to move forward with any trail, because they have to take all those issues into consideration. From my perspective, I want to make it, I don't want to invade anybody's privacy either, but I don't think it's right to take some people who complain and say, no, I don't want this, and then impose that on everybody else in the community, because basically it's easy to say no to people, and it's easy for us to just shut down trails completely and say no trails anywhere, shut down the businesses, say no sewers for businesses or anybody. It's very easy to say no, but I don't like the idea of taking away choices or opportunities for our community because a few people object. And I know it might be more than a few people, but I think we need to work and see what can we do to try to alleviate those issues for those people who have objections, and try to do something that we can turn it around and come up with something workable that brings benefit to the community as a whole. Because it's easy to say no, but it's harder to sit down and work with people and work out issues and problems and come up with something that benefits the community as a whole. That's a hard thing to do.
Okay, so there's
And that's
two-
what we're asking you guys to do, is
There's
just
two
try to
routes
think about
proposed
that.
right now, and both those routes end up coming up Mill Street, all right? And is it true that the route needs to take a minimum of 10 to 12 feet?
I don't know.
12 is the recommended.
12 is the recommended. So I'm thinking, where on Mill Street are you going to put a 12-foot trail?
Well, in the first place, once it gets in with the village, you go to the village of Goodrich, they have a wide trail coming in from the west, but it goes down to a standard sidewalk. They did not widen their sidewalks. They did not tear up the village.
And I don't expect
Puts a
we would either.
12-foot trail right into basically 3.5-foot
That's right,
sidewalk.
that's right.
Because you can't go
And then you got
faster
people
there.
tripping, and now there's liability concerns over not having it ADA accessible for whatever other devices. So again, there's again, lack of planning, and you're asking us now to support a plan that really is unclear to me for cost,
I'm
safety,
not asking support of any plan. I'm just asking for support
For
of
our master
walkability.
plan for the last,
Trails.
since 2008, the last 9 years,
15 for the recreational plan.
15 for the recreational plan, we have been a village that promotes trails and walkability.
Yeah.
Yes.
So to achieve that plan, we are, as the planning commission, we are just re-emphasizing that fact that we do promote trails and walkability, and that we do want to support whatever the township decides as the proposed trail route.
Yeah, that's it.
We won't have a
It's
choice at that
simple as
point.
that.
No. This is right here. This is right here is sidewalks, motorized trails within the village of Ortonville. It says right here, such pathways may or may not connect to other regional and local systems. And I've been very clear about this. I don't care what the township's doing.
Exactly.
Because this is, only has to do with the village. We can go around in circles in the village all year round.
Yeah, we're not talking about
We're not
where any
talking
trail's
about the
going in
township.
the township. We're just saying that,
I don't
hey,
care.
Well, if you don't,
the township having trails would be good for us, because that helps us, it fits in with our walkability and our master plans and what we've had in our master plan for years. We're
They
not
should fit in
promoting
with
any
us.
specific plan, we're just promoting walkability.
But there's no
walkability.
collaboration between Brandon Township and the council to decide what route was gonna go and what's best for, not only Brandon Township, but the village.
But I'm
they're on
confident
the
if
sub-
every other community around us can handle this, we can do this too. If we move forward positively, we can get it one too.
So I believe it was trustee Ashman that brought up, I think it was last month, about a village council member being on on that Trails Committee, the township, and I don't know whatever happened with that, or if that was approved, or who it was gonna be, or just what, but I don't know. I mean, I like being in charge of our own destination. If we can collaborate with the township, I'm not against trails at all, but I think we need to know what cost, and I think we're being asked to approve something without knowing what costs are involved, or.
Not being asked to
we're-
approve
we're making
anything.
kind
We're
of-
not asking anything. All the
No,
ones
there-
are approving the concept.
Okay.
You want
But
the
it-
concept
And
or
if
don't
you
you?
want an idea,
Here's
number,
what it
our
says.
neighboring community pays $6 per $100,000 of their house value.
What is that?
Our Atlas, just put theirs in,
Yeah.
opening, $6 per $100,000 home value. So whatever your home is worth, if it's $300,000, you're paying $18 a
to-
year. That's
to have a
$18 a
trail
year if
come
you have a
by my
$300,000
house. I
house.
don't mind.
Sure.
Just a rough estimate. That's just what other communities are paying.
Right, but I'm saying, but have we seen that?
Well, no, because we haven't even got to that point to know what. But I'm just saying, in general, you guys were asking about the money for that.
Yeah.
The other thing about putting it on 15, communities are getting grants to move them off of the roads. They are getting grants to put buffers and to be putting parking lots and move them to the other side of the, parking spaces, moving them to the other side. People are taking them off of the roads and getting money for that because of the dangers. So I do not see 15 as the answer. because it's
Well, I think there's
easier.
dangers
It's
no
not
matter where you
safer.
go. Just last month, there was 3 teenage girls that had armed robbery in Rochester Hills Trail.
Right.
So we
You know,
we
you're
do,
getting,
we certainly
you're
do have to
getting
be, no, we
it's
have to
totally
be-
off the subject. It's totally off the subject.
I know this is a concept, Larry, but is it, I read through the plan and the walkability came up about 4 or 5 different times. Is our town walkable at this moment?
It is semi-walkable. There's areas where walkability can be improved. We have isolated pockets of, like, we have a park on Oakwood that we really can't connect to other than walking on the shoulder of a public road because we don't have any way to connect to it other than driving a car there or walking along the shoulder of a road.
But would
There's a lot of things. We do have walkability.
Oh,
It's
are
gotten
we?
better since we added some sidewalks
I
in.
don't count on it.
But we still have more that we can do with it too.
Just approved it.
Well,
And it's you know, I've gone to seminars in the past when I was on the council, and, you know, I know that's one of the things, so when I went to some seminars in Lansing, that they discussed, you know, complete streets was the concept and what was being talked about back then, and that's a concept about not just a road for cars, but also pedestrian traffic and other types of
It's kind of a sidewalk to me. I mean, because we do have that right now in 90% of the village. There's a couple of areas where it would be, okay, put a trail in to get from Mill Street to that subdivision off Oakwood. Forgot, Pinestead maybe? Or something like that?
Again, this isn't trying to do something new or different. This is just reiterating what's already in our master plan.
In the master plans being where we work, because it's old and outdated, we just talked about that.
But to answer that, Mark, you are not supposed to have bikes on the
It's still gonna be
sidewalks.
there.
Bikes are supposed to be on the roads.
This says it's not a concept.
In
This is
town.
this is a resolution saying that, and
I didn't know.
It is a resolution, yes, I agree.
Support the current
It also
master plan.
says, in
You support it
addition,
or
we,
don't you?
It says,
That's all I've got
to
here.
support a master plan as well as the joint village of Ortonville and Brandon Township Recreation.
That's right.
Where's
We
the joint collaboration? We just got done saying we're not involved with any of the meetings.
I didn't get a resolution. I only got this. I didn't get
It
this.
was a joint collaboration when we put the recreational master plan together.
I didn't
I
get
didn't
it.
see that.
Ask John. John? That was a joint collaboration between
It says
Brandon
at
Township
the
and the village
bottom.
of Ortonville when that recreational plan was put together. You worked your tail off on that.
We did
And it
that.
came to the
It was approved by this
village
council.
many times.
Not this, but council approved.
As it says in the last sentence there, such pathways may or may not
Council
connect
also
to other
approved
regional local
A lot of
systems.
different things.
the only thing,
I didn't need it for notes.
you know, we're very concerned about what the costs are gonna be. The only thing I know for sure is that the DNR grants cover 80% of construction costs. And so that's another 20% that the village of Ortonville would have to come up with if we put trails inside the village of Ortonville. And then the township is gonna have to come up with their 20% for the trails that they're putting in their area. And so essentially, you know, what you're getting then is, you know, we would be paying for 2 trails, because we pay Village of Ortonville taxes and we pay, you know, Brandon Township taxes. And that's the only thing I'm clear on. DNR grants only pay for 80% of construction. So there are a lot of unknowns there. There is a meeting October 5th at the high school, and I was hoping that some kind of resolution would, you know, or some type of clarity about these trails would come at that meeting. I think to put forth this resolution, and you're also asking us, as, in addition, we also respectfully request the resolution, if adopted, be forwarded to the Brandon Township Board for their consideration. I think it's premature, because I think we need to have this meeting October 5th.
This is technically have nothing to do with Iron Bell Trail. You understand that, correct?
Trail's a trail, but it does.
Yeah.
It talks about Brandon Township Recreation too, so it does.
Mr. President, can
So-
It
I
does.
say something at some point?
It says it right here, Brandon Township.
I mean, I'm supportive of trail. I'm just not supportive of the 2 routes that are out there now. I'm supportive of Seymour Lake, M15 trail.
That's not what we're talking about at all. We get that, we've got.
The way it's written, it's all encompassing.
All we're saying is that we don't want to see the township eliminate the possibility of trails because that's going to have a significant negative impact on our plans for walkability within our communities. And so we just want to let the township know that we support walkability in what we have on our master plan and our joint parks and recreation plan. And we just want to let the township know that our community sees the value in having trails and walkability in our community. What they are doing with their plans for whatever trail, it does not impact anything in terms of where the trail is going to go or anything. That's a decision the township still has to come to. That, we're just saying that we don't want them to eliminate trails altogether as an option in Brandon Township because that negatively impacts our community and our walkability options.
That's not all we're saying. Can I say something?
Please, Rick.
What this actually is about is
Yeah,
that
it's
in
not
our
clear.
master plan, we came up with a variety of combination of sidewalks and non-motorized trails that some of which we could develop. And this map, I don't know if you've seen this, but this map in the master plan shows a variety of ideas for trails. Well, actually, only a few ideas for trails, and the rest are sidewalks. That's what we're asking you to support these concepts of. Now, as far as funding, there are grants, but the parts of the communities that are actually doing this, like Atlas Township, have various ways of raising money, not necessarily coming, or a lot of it doesn't come from the tax base. The municipality, there's individual groups that are working with the municipality to raise money for these things. And it might take a long time to raise the money, but that's what they're doing. That's how they're accomplishing this. So the idea that it all comes from taxes is just not the way it's done.
The way it's said it.
In the successful communities that are actually doing this are raising money with private groups that are interested in it. And it might take a lot longer than just writing a check from the municipality, but that's the way a lot of them are doing it. I just want to make that clear, because what we're asking in this is just to support these concepts that are in the master plan already. That's it.
Can I ask if
Yes.
this resolution would exclude the property that a motion was already made and supported not to put any trails on the property that is adjacent to the Mill Street owners up to Crescent Hill, and then the South Street residents and adjacent to those. So there's a piece of property, it was called the Swamp, it was called many different things at the time, and now that there was a motion to put forth that there is no foot trails, motorized vehicles, and to be designated as a wildlife preservation park as opposed to putting any foot trails. So does this resolution eliminate the use of that property for foot trails?
Has nothing to do with that.
It does.
Eliminate it. Eliminate it.
He just held up the map. Can I see that map, Rick?
Yeah, but you had a
Yes.
motion to not develop, not do anything with that property. So you'd have to have a motion to undo that motion. This has nothing to do with that.
And
It has,
And-
we're supporting the
well-
master plan, which is in there still.
Master plan's being rewritten, too.
that's a whole other subject.
But that's what we're seeing.
Exactly.
It's current master plan.
But we have to approve the master
You
plan,
are-
don't we?
Right.
That's right.
So.
That is a different subject. And
I know that.
Not going to happen overnight.
that particular
It'll take a year or
You know,
two.
the-
property, that particular property was designated as a public parkland. It says in the deed, public parkland purposes only. Doesn't say anything about a wildlife preservation area.
It didn't say area, park. It's a wildlife preservation park, Rick.
Well,
And it was approved on by council here.
I know it was.
Public allowed to go
We talked about that. As long as it's not approved, the public can go in there anytime they want, but they're not gonna go in there and build trails, build ramps. I got photos, ridiculous photos of what was built back there.
Many of the things that have been put there were put in by the residents around the border, that not necessarily by people that.
Exactly. So now that's gone, all right? Been taken apart, so yes, it can still be used for the public. They can still walk in there, hike around anytime they want, but it's not for developmental use for trails, all right? They can go in there, we talked about this when we voted on it.
Right. So anyway, this proposal is to suggest or request that the village council support the master plan, circulation plan, as apparently amended by you folks in April.
Okay, I make a motion that there be a resolution passed by the Village of Ortonville Village Council in agreement with the Village Planning Commission in support of the request of the Village Planning Commission to support the current master plan as well as the joint Village of Ortonville and Brandon Township recreational plans, which both clearly support the development of non-motorized trails and sidewalks within the Village of Ortonville. Such pathways may or may not connect to other regional and local systems as described in both master plans.
Could you put in there excluding the property that's already voted on in terms of,
You already have a motion that encompasses that.
It's already been excluded.
yeah, but
It's already
that
been
one doesn't
excluded.
say that.
It shouldn't have to.
I think it was.
Your motion
want-
should,
you want
your
that to
motion
prove-
should prevail.
No, that's fine. If you
don't
wanna
need-
read it that way, that's fine.
You don't think your motion prevails?
In this case,
You're saying,
I'll vote the way I think I should, vote with that reads, Joe, Wayne, all right?
Support.
okay, we have a motion in support of the resolution and by Wills and supported by Dylas.
So we're being asked to support a master plan that hasn't been rewritten yet.
Well, it's going to be rewritten. It's in the process. We just approved it.
But we haven't
So
seen
we'll
it.
make sure that perhaps that language you want might be in the master plan even.
The master plan is just a plan. If there's just something explicitly excluded by a motion like you have made, then the master plan cannot be carried out on that piece of property.
And
It's simple as
I don't think there's anybody on council that doesn't disagree with going forward with trails in the village. But there are certain parts of the village that we've already made decisions on. And for that, I'd like to have them called out in this motion. If they don't want to be called out, then what good is the motion? You're just trying to trump a motion that's already there, similar to the chicken vote.
So you don't believe that your motion that you made 2 months ago has any validity to it?
I believe that this opens the door for other dialogue with that piece of property, and I don't like the way it reads.
Interesting. Okay. Let's do a roll call.
Rice,
Yes?
Watsu,
No.
Silas,
Yes.
Eshman,
No.
Skornica,
No.
Sleva,
No.
Wills,
Yes. Motion is rejected. Thank you for your time, gentlemen, nonetheless.
Thank you for taking the time to.
Public comments on non-agenda items only. Non-agenda items.
I will make some public comments here. First of all, I want to thank you, Tanya, as a member of the CERT team. I do appreciate your recognizing our efforts that we did during September Fest. I also want to give recognition to the DPW crew who did a great job, our firefighters and the sheriff's department who were on hand there, as well as the rest of our CERT team members. It was a long, hot day for a lot of us, but it's all for the community. So I do appreciate that you recognize that there. And as I stated earlier, it is easy to say no. I hope that in the future this council can try to be a little bit more open-minded, but as I said before, the reason I love this community and why I put so much effort into it, CERT team, I've been on planning commission, I've been on the council in the past, is because I really do want to see our community grow and thrive, and I think it is about the people in the community. And when I hear constantly that we're taking options off the table for things that could bring benefits to our community because of objections to on one part or another, it really disappoints me that we can't somehow find a way to try to work out through some of these issues and try to be a little more open-minded and try to find a more positive outcome for some of these topics that come up. I know there's a lot of strong feelings in our community, but I want to see our community come together and be a strong community. I think that all this negativity is just weakening our sense of community and weakening us as a community. And I'm hoping that we can somehow find a way to collaborate within the council, with the Brandon Township Board, with the DDA, Main Street, Oakland County, and try to find a way to turn around this negativity and try to start getting on a more positive trend and find a way to work through these issues and find some positive outcomes that can benefit everybody in our community. Because I really see our community declining with all this negativity, and I just hope that we can overcome it. That's all I want to say.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Any other comment?
Not her again. Alicia Simpson, I live in the village. I just wanted to, as I was listening to some of the discussion that happened after the chicken debacle or whatever, I kind of got to the point where I realized that, you know, though I obviously hope the chicken thing goes in my favor, that's kind of the least of my worries now as a homeowner in this community. Listening to you guys talk to each other and some of the comments that you've made, I understand that I am young and I don't know anything, maybe according to some of you, but I am the future of this community. My kids will live here, sorry to be disrespectful, long after you're gone. My grandkids will be here, and we're not considered, and that's fine, because basically the understanding that my husband and I are walking away with is, if we don't like it, move. Move. We invested in this community, and somebody made a comment, why would somebody open a business? Do people really, you know, yeah, when we bought our home in Ortonville, it was not a light decision. We could have spent our money elsewhere, but we believed in the future of Ortonville. We wanted to invest here. But you clearly don't want people to do that. You don't. You want this to be like Burton or Flint or Pontiac. I mean, get it together. This guy stood here and told you his master plan ideas and what he was going to offer and what they were going to do that you're paying $28,000 for. I sat at that meeting, the Main Street meeting, for free. They ran down. I actually have all of my notes. All of that information is available to you. What businesses will thrive here? What's not going to thrive here? Without sewers. They took that into consideration. Sewers wasn't a part of that because it's clear we don't want them. Why are we paying somebody to come and do something that we've already got for free? None of you were there. None of you heard what this guy had to say about what businesses are good, what businesses are bad. If you want this to be a retirement community, you want this to be a place where people can come and you know, live until they're 100 years old, that's great. But if people like us stop coming here, what are you going to do? What is Ortonville going to do? Does it even bother any of you at all that I'm walking away, a homeowner in this community, defeated and hopeless?
Great.
This is really hard for me to do, but I've lived here 26 years, and that poster or that sign behind you, you can pretty much wipe out the bottom line. I've already put my name in for Flint, to move downtown Flint in a flat, because I no longer want to live in Ortonville. And that's after 26 years and 2 kids going through school here. You guys have just not made it very easy for people. Thank you.
change the subject a little bit. Maybe to give some help or something, not towards any of this, totally off the agenda. You brought up a couple weeks ago about all the garbage trucks coming down the road. I have a recommendation. I don't know if you want to pursue it. You can if you want. I lived in Holly for a while. We lived in the village. They went out for people to bid on garbage. So one company came through and it was included on the taxes. That would get rid of numerous garbage trucks all the time, bring the cost of trash down for the people. And so anyhow, that's what I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any others?
6 years.
Hearing none?
I would like to go back and make a motion on the D, the Michigan Waters MDEQ, to allow the Michigan Waters MDEQ NPDES permit issued in 2014 for $19.50, only if the DDA will reimburse the village so that the business district can pursue a treatment plan.
I'm sorry, was that a motion?
Yes, it was.
What was the motion?
I guess, can you say that again?
To allow the Michigan Waters MDEQ NPDES permit issued in 2014 for $1,950, only if the DDA will reimburse the village so that the business district can pursue a treatment plan. Therefore, we're holding true to the village residents who voted down the sewers, and it's not closing the doors on the business districts, that they can pursue that. We're not shutting the door on the permit. They can, use
But
that if
allows
they
the
get.
village manager to also pursue that.
No, this would be for the DDA.
But we don't know if their funding can be spent on that.
Well, this is only.
It's contingent, it's a contingent motion.
It certainly is a contingent, only if they would reimburse the village.
And then that
Just
would allow
throwing
the
that out
village
there.
manager to work on sewers?
No, because the residents spoke on that, and so therefore our village dollars should not be spent on something that the people spoke to. I was just allowing this so that we're not disposing of our permit as long that we continue that only if the DDA reimburses us.
And can you specify in that motion that the village manager would not be supporting any sewer activity for the businesses then?
The village
Isn't that
manager
already-
also has a right to answer
He
to
has
the
an obligation
businesses
to
in our
do that, Dan.
district.
Dan, it's his job
It's
to
his
pursue
job to
whatever
do
the
that.
business people want.
My God.
It's just, it's
It was just a motion to.
just a permit, that's all it is.
Well, he wants to expand it.
That,
I was just making an additional motion for the DDA to take on that fee, not the village residents, but the DDA to reimburse.
So you
That
just
was
heard
my
Wayne
plan.
We
saying it's the
collect
village
taxes
manager's
from the
job to support
businesses.
that.
Their money can be spent on that. We already collect money from these businesses and their taxes. Why would that money not go
I
towards
was
something to benefit
just opening
them?
it up so that if anybody wanted to support that, but if not, then that's fine too.
I'm just saying in general. We just keep saying the residents this and the residents that. There are two parts to our community. The businesses support everything in this community as well, whether they are a voting resident or not. Their money is put into everything. Their community, I'll just opened up their
Sorry, I
streets
opened
for
up the
our
community
parades and our festival. All the businesses.
Okay,
We have a motion, do we have
You can-
support?
Or you can withdraw it because there's no support.
Well, we don't know. You gotta have support to continue the discussion.
Okay, I withdraw it then.
You want to support it?
No, I think the DDA should
Make a
pay.
motion that we adjourn.
I don't think so.
Support.
The businesses
So
will
moved.
pay us. Why can't we support that? Goodness me.